So I want to hear your story, right? Let's start with this. Someone's going to write an autobiography or has written an autobiography for you, and it's published tomorrow. What's its title? Not to put you on the spot.
Goodness. Probably like Transcending the Gravity of Doubt.
Transcending the Gravity of Doubt. I love that. I love that.
I've been working on this.
That's very, I was going to say, you seem like you had that a bit prepared.
Yes. But really the long version is how to survive your childhood as an African, and then ultimately how to get through America as well. So,
surviving America?
Yes, yeah, there you go.
Which is easier, surviving America or surviving Africa?
Africa, I mean, it has its nuances, right? It has its complications, of course. I think for me, like growing up, getting in a tire as a plaything and it's being rolled down the hill or bobsledding down the hill. I mean, the dangers, they amounted. We didn't have insurance and medical coverage that could like immediately repair you. Except maybe grandma was the bone setter. But the US, it's like a lot of very intricate things and things that you have to be mindful for, and like ways you have to socially gauge and manage yourself so that you don't find yourself in hot water.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So hot water, and I imagine the dangers are different here,
Very
a little bit, a lot more complex to navigate, right?
Right. So Rwanda is kind of like, Rwanda has become base. So if to use a climbing analogy, right?
Okay.
The base camp is Rwanda before you have to ascend to the United States.
Got it.
Right. And
Got it.
so then all the things that you encounter at base camp, acclimating to the environment, the lungs getting the expansion and realizing you're about to do something really, really dangerous.
I like that.
But you know, I also don't want to underestimate the experiences of being in war and genocide and all those kinds of things. So you know, and they're all on a different continuum. But then you get here and then, you know, you talk to a psychologist and they were like, there's childhood traumas that you need to deal with, and then adult traumas, and then there's all these other things that you kind of need to navigate, in politics and all kinds of, you know, little wrenches that may be thrown at you. So it gets complicated. It is a complicated climb.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Not that I'm a climber. So,
no, but you've clearly climbed, and I you know, hoping to, you know, that'll bear out during the interview here. But you mentioned Rwanda. Tell me, start me out at your childhood. You grew up in Rwanda. Yes. What's a day in Rwanda look like?
Oh my gosh, this would have been, so I was born in the 80s.
Okay.
So a day in Rwanda in the 80s was, we didn't have television when I grew up. And
no television.
Yeah, so you get up and you're basically thrown out of the house because you're not supposed to be there. There's too many things you can break inside the house. So you had to go figure out your life with your friends and your cohort. So I made a lot of friends in the beginning.
Okay.
Run around climbing trees. I tested a lot of physics and you know what my skull can withstand.
Sure.
So I loved climbing. So I loved climbing trees. I never climbed mountains. And then my friends love climbing trees, so it will be a bunch of kids in trees.
Okay.
And it felt nice to be able to look at the world below, because most of us were looking at adults, and my dad was a tall man, and so we'd be all looking up at the authorities. So it was nice to be able to like get to a place where we had the bird's eye view.
This is your moment to be tall.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
But also just where I grew up was further north in Rwanda, so we had a beautiful view of the volcanoes.
Okay.
And then when my dad would take us out to the Lake Kivu, you had this expansive, you know, just view. The lake looks like an ocean for me.
Okay.
And so there's these moments of happiness and vacationing at this, I think we only took like 1 or 2 vacations. So it feels like many because it was these rare moments where my dad was like, I've got the money to take my kids.
That's wonderful.
And then, of course, just running around. We got dirty a lot.
Okay.
Rwanda has red clay, and it will stain everything.
And your mother loved this.
And Mom didn't care.
Oh, really?
Mom, in fact, encouraged this because this is how she grew up. She grew up on a farm. Like her dirt is redder than the dirt that I grew up in.
Okay, got it.
And so my dad was discouraging all of this because he was the more kind of like proper he would press everything that he wore in the morning down to the socks, I believe.
Okay. Wow.
And then he was the head of discipline. And so for the kids of the head of discipline to be out of sorts and out of order, and your wardrobe or your appearance was shame to him.
Okay.
And so he wanted to make sure that we stayed proper.
So the kids had to toe the line
completely,
or face the consequences.
Completely. So you had to find creative ways to go around all of that,
sure,
so that your dad doesn't find out.
Sure,
which was difficult, especially going to like a Jesuit school, and the nuns will also be checking your nails to see if you've been playing, your little what do you call those, the little round ball marbles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We played marbles.
Okay.
And so, but if you play marbles in red clay, you're gonna have red clay in your nails. And so one of the first thing you do when you got into school is to put your hands out on the table, and then the nuns will come and inspect.
So between your father and the nuns, there's no escape for a little boy.
Absolutely
so
not.
You're just in trouble constantly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dad,
okay.
And the fact that I refused to wear shoes, you can never put shoes on me.
Why?
And stay on. Grip. I mean, the mechanics of climbing a tree requires you have really good grip on your toes.
Okay, so you were climbing trees enough to warrant a wardrobe change to accommodate this.
Completely.
Why? Sorry, was everyone else climbing the same amount of trees, or was this your jam?
I probably my jam, but most of the kids I hung out with climbed trees, so you tend to gravitate towards those who are equally as insane as you.
Yes.
Or those who can withstand the kind of punishment you get from dirtying up your clothes. But for me, it was, I really did love trees. Like, there's something about me and nature that it's inseparable.
Okay.
If you keep me away from nature too long, I get a little itchy.
Got it.
Though I love being home. I love being a homebody and enjoying just home. I think that has a lot more to do with how often it is that we moved around. And when I finally could find some place that's mine, I don't usually want to leave it.
The stability of it is critical. Got it.
Yeah. But in general, climbing trees, getting in trouble, finding different kinds of like plant life and understanding little creatures and animals. I made friends with goats. I made friends with cows.
Sure.
That was my life.
Now, what age are we talking about here? Where is this? So 3, 4, 5, 6?
From as soon as I could walk.
Okay.
I was getting into trouble in nature.
Got it.
And when we would visit my cousins, and they were more, deeper rural parts of Rwanda, where there's no paved highway, or the nearest city you have to either take a 45 to 2 hour walk. So there was a lot. There was a lot that when we would go there, we would be fully immersed in country life. And country living is basically hanging out with the shepherd boys.
Okay.
My grandfather had cattle, and so we'd take the cattle out and get in all sorts of trouble, forgetting that we were supposed to be watching the cattle.
Sure.
And they'll eat sweet potatoes and get into other people's.
So all the new temptations of farm ads for a young boy.
Precisely.
And just exploiting every opportunity to get in trouble.
Precisely. And then we'd be considered city kids too. So we had a lot to prove as city kids when we would get to my cousins.
Okay.
Yeah.
This sounds like a perfect childhood, actually.
Those are some of the sweetest memories I have.
I'll bet.
Like walking with my grandfather, getting passion fruit straight from the branch. Some of the sweetest passion fruit in Rwanda.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All kinds of fruit. Rwanda is very tropical. So we grow all from mangoes to passion fruit to guava to, I'm sure, pineapple if we tried, and then a whole lot of bananas.
Sure.
The elders would make banana wine.
Okay.
That was never ours, but
Banana wine.
Yeah.
Now, that's interesting.
It's a very interesting drink. But
I don't think I've ever even seen that.
It sneaks up on you.
Okay.
When I was old enough to finally imbibe it. But in general, Rwanda also has 5 different varieties of bananas. And so there's short bananas, long bananas.
Sure.
Bananas you use for plantains, and bananas you use for a boiled meal.
Sure.
There are all kinds of ways to make the treats out of bananas.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's creative.
So we would eat bananas.
Okay.
And my grandfather was known for his banana wine. And so he was kind of a community unifier. The communities we unify around drinks. So either banana wine or milk, when you're like milking your cattle, you'd invite your neighbors over.
Yeah.
Well, my grandfather, when he would make banana wine, it would be a lot of banana wine.
Okay.
And so he'd invite the entire village over. And so people would come through and they'll sit and there'll be these gourds and they'll put these straws that everybody would share in, or there'll be a giant, container with long straws in it where everybody would share.
That's great.
Very
So just a community bucket, essentially,
Yeah.
of happiness.
Precisely.
Given to all.
And
That's
everybody
great.
would bring their kids too. So then it's us and the kids and us as all the kids while the adults are doing all the adult stuff.
Of course.
We're getting in trouble because
Sure.
they're drinking banana wine and who's going to chase after
But as you said, the best times, some of my memories too, are when you get 15 kids together and run off into wherever where the adults are not.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Daring
yes.
each other to do things and climbing and falling. And sure.
Oh, yes.
Very good.
So, and without television sets, your imagination was your only limitation.
It's a bit of a lost art these days. You didn't have the luxury of the distractions that my children have and whatnot.
Different distractions.
If you had your own kids, it's interesting. I wonder how you would handle that.
So I think I want kids to be able to not fall behind, right? I want kids to be aware that technology exists and it's not something you need to be frightened of. I also want them to understand where the components of that technology come from. Like, I grew up about 20 miles from one of the largest, lithium mines. So on the other side of Rwanda's border in Congo is a whole lot of lithium. It's mine. But I also want them to turn off the screens and gear up your memory and your capacity for adventure. So if you don't have that, if you don't turn off the screen, you won't be able to enact your adventure.
Sure.
And so I think if I was a parent, I wouldn't be very strict like my dad was. I guess, but many people say that, right? I'll never do it like my dad.
We all did.
Right. Right. And so, but I would also want them to spend I would want to make nature interesting.
Okay.
So one of the things I used to do with my nephews, for example, I would download the nature app and then we'll go around naming the plants in my brother's yard here in the US.
Okay.
And I think that was a good marriage between technology and nature. So they're learning this is the kind of plant that grows where I grow, because that was our education. When we were with my grandmother, and this is the beginning of my healing journey.
Okay.
She would name the plants. This plant heals this, right? You take a little eucalyptus and you put it on a wound.
Okay.
It helps because eucalyptus is, antibacterial, antiviral, right? And so we're learning these plants. And then you eat these plants, you don't eat these plants. I ate a lot of plants I shouldn't be eating.
Okay.
So I got very sick at times. And so it's good to know what not to eat around your yard.
Sure.
So
That can be very helpful in survival.
yes, survival is critical. But yeah, my grandmother was instrumental in that kind of knowledge.
Sure.
And then my mom was an agriculture specialist.
Okay.
And she's an engineer in agriculture by training. She eventually did diplomacy, but there was no escaping being in a field when my mom is around. So you knew how your carrots came to your plate. You knew how your tomatoes came to your plate.
So you were agriculture, whether you liked it or not.
Whether we like it or not.
That was happening.
And Rwanda is subsistent farming. So it's that's the thing that everybody does.
Sure.
You see all these terraced hills and all these, it's an agriculture society.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, agriculture society, but you said obviously you're out on the farm when you go to your grandparents.
Yes.
When you're not at your farm, when you're at your home, is this in the middle of a city? Paint this picture for me. What are we looking like?
We moved a couple of times, and my longest memories, kind of up north, it's more city-like. The first place that I think we lived was up north near a military base, but we were the last house before the dirt road.
Okay.
But the campus that my dad worked in was, on the paved road. And I think it was built by missionaries or something like that.
Okay.
And then eventually we moved to the capital city, which it's a booming capital city.
It's Kigali?
Kigali. You got done your good research.
I learned a lot in preparation of this.
So Kigali was busy, and it was actually kind of it was an overwhelming city, at least for me, who had mostly known farmland and climbing trees.
Okay.
And so then, we'll get on bicycles in Kigali and travel all around.
Okay.
And then eventually my mom moved us to the coastal city in the south. And that city, you'd see Lake Kivu in the distance if you climbed high enough. But it was also, it became quieter again because it wasn't as busy as Kigali at that time when I grew up.
Okay.
1994 found us kind of midway, kind of shuffling back between the southern city where my mom was and then Kigali where my dad was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your mom and your father and your mother were not living together?
No. Eventually they separated.
They had separated. Okay. So you were traveling back and forth then.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And how many siblings? Remind me.
I'm the youngest of 4.
Youngest of 4. And the others, and what's the age gap?
About 2 in between, kind of like family planning.
Perfect.
They wanted to put a little distance in between.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Very good. So, and you mentioned 1994. So that's obviously a major milestone in your life. Leading up to this, though, everything. And part of this, of course, is a bit of an education for both me and anyone listening to this. Right? Is many Americans just simply have no concept of what goes on in Africa, as I'm sure you're aware. Even from just not just the atrocities that go on and whatnot, but even just from a logistical standpoint, what a day-to-day life looks like. What does a city look like? What does the life look like? One of the things I want to do is be able to try to paint this. This journey of yours, but in the context of something that maybe we can understand. So prior to 1994, what was it? What was life like? Was it just generally peaceful?
Yeah.
Were there conflicts was there any stressors on you as a child that you can recall?
Yeah. So I've delved deep into this to just kind of also understand the history that led to 1994. But Rwanda, I would say between 1992 to 1994 was going through this internal change where one party that used to rule them all was kind of now giving way to a multi-party system.
Okay.
And so, but even far before that, I think what I want to address is even though I climb trees, there's like skyscrapers in Africa. There's metropolises that rival your New York City.
Sure.
There is transit systems that are pretty impressive.
Sure.
And even though there's dirt roads in certain places, there are other places that are super developed. So it's the same way you can come from, say, New York City, and then you get to San Diego, and then you drive a dune buggy, and then you find yourself in a desert.
Yes.
In places that may not have, a paved road.
Same. Yeah.
And so there's that experience exists. And especially now in Rwanda, though, Rwanda is billed as one of the most impressive experiments, right? Especially after war. It has developed skyscrapers. There is all kinds of pavement in the capital cities. There's Wi-Fi. You have hotels. You have Michelin star chefs, and then down to your grandmother cooking you food on a little, burner.
Sure. So this is a modern culture. There's a modern city.
Culture.
Okay.
But then there are places where you still go, and kids have never heard of hip hop, have never heard of like rap, and never heard of disco, and they don't know your modern dance.
Okay.
And those are my favorite places that still exist today.
Untouched.
Yeah, untouched. And I went back to Rwanda about a year ago and found, these places because those are my favorite. It's such a pure experience that when you are introducing the world that you just came out of to them, they're just utterly shocked.
Okay.
Right? I'm holding a cell phone that has components that is mine 20 miles down, but they have like no concept of what an iPhone is.
Got it.
And then you go to the city and they're like, yeah, of course we know what iPhones are.
Interesting.
So yeah.
So huge gap.
Huge gap.
Yeah. Okay.
So now in the development in 1992, now you have like political systems and political parties forming.
Yep.
modern democracies, or an attempt at a modern democracy.
Okay.
Multi-party system. People are signing up to different parties, and you wear your party colors, and the sense of pride that people used to have about their parties in Rwanda in 1992 was palpable.
Okay.
Right?
Tense or palpable?
First, it was palpable.
Okay.
Then it became tense.
Okay.
There had been a war in early 1991. But then it was like simmering down. There was these Arusha peace accords, and we were attempting at reuniting this country again, and trying to see what works. So you have parties that were more affiliated to the farmers, parties that were more affiliated to the people who were still in the status quo, and then the tension begins from there, right? So the more people start to show pride, and then how you show your pride, it's almost very similar to like a Sunday afternoon in the United States during football season. So you got folks who are rooting for one team and others who are rooting for another, and so it can get pretty extreme in different places.
Only with political parties.
Only with political
So
parties.
that's interesting, because the level of engagement, at least in Western culture, doesn't tend to be near that extreme. Nobody's going to wear a color for anything other than like a convention.
Right.
So so everyone was highly involved in this, it sounds like.
It's right, and that's the interesting part. And the hope was we would continue this path peacefully. But extremist parties quickly kind of emerged.
As they do.
And interests, when they're being impacted, so if your political party is going to get voted out, that means whoever was benefiting from whatever Western contracts were coming up is going to lose that. Negativity starts to creep in into parties. I'm saying it very mildly and lightly. I'm sure there was more things attached to that. And there was a history of colonialism that was attached to how certain parties behaved and how they looked at different people that were different. There's, propaganda that had been in place for a very long time as well about who's who and who's a Hutu, who's a Tutsi, who's a Twa, the three different groups. All of these played a key role. And also our neighbors. So Burundi was also becoming destabilized. And so there was an influx of refugees and their stories. And Burundi has also some of the same breakdown, Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa.
Okay.
And so who's being attacked in Burundi versus who's doing the attacking. That was also influencing the kind of politics that was going on in Rwanda.
So it almost as a window into what could be happening?
Precisely.
Got it.
Oh, yeah. No, Burundi, it was a foreshadowing of what was going to happen in 1994. And then you also have this international kind of experience. Rwanda is surrounded by Congo, Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda. At that time, Congo was Zaire under Mobutu. Mobutu was a very long-lived dictator in the Congo. And so there's also foreigners coming in, and there's a lot of interest. And then there is interest from missionaries, and the French at this time were pretty active in Rwanda. Okay. In fact, I think the president had a Learjet gifted to him by the French president at that time.
That's nice.
Oh, yeah, of course. So there's a lot of interest. But also Rwanda is strategically important because of its proximity to Congo. There's a lot of interests that Western countries.
From a resources perspective. Got
exactly.
it. Does Rwanda itself have resources?
They do. They do.
Okay.
But to a much smaller.
Right. Congo's obviously full of.
Massive.
Interesting.
Massive.
There's a lot of, there's a long history. Let me be blunt. Let me ask a blunt question.
Sure.
With a bit of a preface. There's a long history of Western nations getting involved in African affairs, African countries, and you mentioned colonialism, that of course is where it starts. And to this day, that continues, that level of meddling. Almost, well, I don't know what the percentage of time, but a high percentage of these times, and things end up being worse off for the locals than they do better. Would you agree with that? Is that what influence does Western culture have positively and negatively on Africa, both historically and today, would you say?
So, I mean, if you're working from the 1800s when the Germans arrive in Rwanda, Rwanda became part of Germany's East Africa. It was connected to Burundi, so it was Rwanda, Burundi together.
Okay.
And they were governed by a German governor. And Germany had sent its Scots troops and Bavarian mercenaries to try and like settle the masses there and plant its flag. So that particular involvement shifted the way the say succession of kings and queens was occurring. It impacted how clans were behaving towards one another. You're looking at a situation before the Germans. It's a situation very similar to, say, pre-Shogun Japan, different clans having different specialties, living in different places, or even Scotland, right? The Northern Highland tribes or clans trying to fight against the British. You had your versions of the Robert the Bruces in Rwanda as well. And so then you have Germany comes in and, there's some unruly folks that aren't really going to allow us to do what we want to do with this colony. Let's introduce guns. We've never had guns before. So the introduction of guns alone changed how we did warfare.
Of course.
But also with that, resentment and, long held resentment comes from those kind of conflicts. When you are used to warfare where your best guys, your braves come and fight that clan's braves, but let's not wage a war of attrition. So women and children weren't necessarily as always caught up the way you're caught up in today's conflict. So that alone is different. So because the mother is important, right? We cherish a mother. We cherish children. A nation that doesn't have mothers or children is a poor nation. You can have all the gold and diamonds in your coffers, but if you're not taking care of your children, your mothers, that's a problem.
Sure.
And
even among enemies.
Absolutely.
The mother was revered.
Yeah, of course. That's a mother.
There was no such thing as civilian atrocities, or it probably was,
but if they not existed, it wasn't. It was taboo, and to do something like that, something must be terribly wrong with
dishonorable.
It is dishonorable, but also you can invoke the wrath of God, right?
Okay.
And so you try not to do those things. It would make you. The ancestors aren't going to be happy either.
Gotcha.
And so you don't want to mess with that.
Sure.
Those are forces that are beyond your control.
And then enter guns.
Changes warfare.
Okay.
Belgium comes in when Germany loses its African colonies. And Belgium, having come from Congo and the history of Belgium and the Congo, which is atrocious, introduced also another element of how a ruler could behave and treat their people.
Okay.
So if you're Hutu and Tutsi or Twa, and those identities could be changed depending on your favor to the king, and he awards you. I raise you to the status. So looking at it from a caste system that existed, those could change. There's some people who felt that it couldn't change. And yes, we are Hutu, always Hutu, been Hutu. We're Tutsi, always been Tutsi, have been Tutsi, or Twa. But the large population of Rwanda before that time kind of didn't know these identities to be solid.
Oh.
Right? There was even a story of creation, right? In the beginning, the God that created the Rwandans had 3 sons, Hutu, Tutsi, Gatwa.
Okay.
That's the way they used to teach us. So if you're looking at it that this is a family.
You're all brothers.
We're all brothers, right? So it's not, this is an ethnicity, this is a different group than you. Because we're all speaking the same language. We're all praying to ancestors. Like indigenous belief system still had a hold in Rwanda, even after the Germans. So I think Dominicans and other Catholic-related groups were among the first to attempt to convert the Rwandan system. And it took them converting the king in order for Rwandans to be like, oh, maybe okay.
Got it.
So all of that, Belgium comes in and it solidifies these systems that could be transitory, right?
Okay.
So then it attaches some of the pseudosciences that had begun with German pseudoscientists, where they're measuring your brain, your head size, your face. So craniology, a pseudoscience, was used in Rwanda to be able to say, well, the king is tall, and so everybody who's tall must be related to the king or must be related to the ethnicity of the king. So they switched it from the clan of the king to the ethnicity of the king. So And if you look at the clan of the kings of Rwanda, they're really tall people. And so, yeah, it makes sense. You're going to have tall kids. And there's scientists who try to justify why they had taller bone features, maybe a proximity to milk, right? They had a lot of cattle. And then that feeds into what that caste was known for: cattle, milk, animal husbandry.
Sure.
Then you look at Hutus, and the way they classified Hutus under Germany and Belgium was related to something called the Hamitic myth, where back in ancient times of the Bible, Noah, his ark, lands in the Caucasoid Mountains, and somehow Noah had a pretty bad night, and his sons found him, but the first son that found him, Ham, laughed at his, belligerency and was cursed. And so then the origin of the African race comes from the curse of Ham. And so that's how the Christian indoctrination at that time went.
Sure.
That the stockier Africans came from, that curse being enacted.
Okay.
And so then you have the Twa. The Twa are more or less the indigenous Rwandans, if we're going to use today's terms, because they more or less dwelled within the forest before the deforestations, and are into art, but tracked animals. And so if you were going to create separations at that time between Hutus, Tutsis, and Twa, there's more similarities between Hutus and Tutsis living at that time than there is between the two of them combined and the Twa.
Okay.
So the Twa were kind of like, no, we're not really going to do any of that.
Okay.
If you look at movies like my favorite movies at that time when I was growing up, The Gods Must Be Crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yes.
We're looking at folks who literally, like, intentionally, that world of development, cities, cars, automobiles, that's madness. The Twa are like, we're not going to go with the madness.
So this does exist. I've heard rumors of this where someone had told me a story that there were still certain cultures in Africa where they had rejected some of the Western modernization that was happening, and had established rules. Now, this may be silly. Had rules similar to, it's hot in Africa, and that's perfectly fine until you have the context of air conditioning, and then all of a sudden it feels hot all the time. So they had established tribal rules that say we don't allow anyone to go inside of a building that has air conditioning for fear of them being dissatisfied with it, which the principle of which I love. But I had dismissed it as something that was just kind of silly, but it sounds like there still are people that are living.
Yeah, very much in alignment with what their cultural tradition kind of dictated about interacting with weirdness. That is advancement. So what we call advancement for them was like moving away from true earth or right existence.
More traditionalists, if you will.
Yeah. And so if you have Twa people at that time, and so it's changed because Twas have also been integrated in the political systems of Rwanda over the years and et cetera. But they really suffered a lot when the attempt to modernize Rwanda eventually reached their forest homes and loggings and all kind of stuff happened. That's pretty sad. And one of the things that's really sad is also the history of the Twa in Rwanda. It's not really talked about. So essentially, Belgium comes in and kind of tries to solidify what a modern society, according to their terms, looks like. And so then we get branded, you're either Hutu or Tutsi, or you come from a Hutu who married a Tutsi, etc.
So all of a sudden, something that is an identity that didn't really matter or was intangible or even immaterial at the time is now become forefront.
It mattered
in culture.
Right. It did come to the forefront, and it mattered in certain instances. So like winning favor to a king who was Tutsi, he will give you a title of Tutsi, even if you say, "Oh, I've been Hutu." And so it mattered to the extent that it either raised your status or created enemies for yourself. Right.
So an identity that was bestowed upon you then puts you, as you said, in a bit of a caste system, then puts you at a lesser state unless you were, I'll use the term, promoted to being from a Hutu to a Tutsi.
Precisely.
Which is a great way to piss off Hutus.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if Belgium comes and say overnight that, you know what, we favor Tutsi folks over Hutu folks, you're going to be like, well, what's wrong with us? There's nothing different from who we are.
Why did they favor the Tutsis?
I think it's all the colonial divide and conquer, right? It's still,
so they just picked one?
Let's figure out who it is that we can manage the most to be able to allow us to do what we want to do with the colony.
Divide and conquer.
It's effective, and it's still effective.
Interesting.
At least my belief, right? Belgians may have a different story around that. I offer them that story, but how it presented itself in Rwanda is they were more in alignment with the king who identified as Tutsi.
Okay.
And then they set about creating education system that favored whoever they favored. That disenfranchised a lot of people who identified as Hutu, who once they did a census seemed to be in the majority at that time.
Okay.
But also remember, the Belgians also redrew lines. So they would classify you as one ethnicity based upon also cattle, right? So if you had a whole bunch of cattle, well that fits the model of what a king looks like who's Tutsi, and therefore those who have a lot of cattle must be Tutsis. It's these false equivalents that created these ethnicities. So when it transitioned from clanship to ethnicities, there was a lot of false equivalent.
And what is this? What is the end result of this? Meaning it sounds like there's all sorts of different standards.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't like, hey, your mom was so-and-so and now you're so-and-so. If it's based on cattle and region and then being promoted, what is the end of this? You forgive me, but do you stand in a line and they go, you're a Hutu, and they stamp some ID card or something?
My dad had an ID card he would have to carry that either identified him as Hutu or Tutsi, right? And
really?
That's one of the things that in 1994 they were looking at. What identity card you have and what does it say? Does it say you're Hutu? Does it say you're Tutsi? It was prominent. Most like Nazi Germany, scarlet letter.
Sure.
So your identity was collaborated by the documentation that was established by Belgian authorities.
So an identity that was arbitrarily given to you based on all sorts of inconsistent rules.
Correct.
Was then forced upon you and then forced to identify you, and that identity then became a death certificate essentially for some.
Precisely.
Jesus.
Now, there are other people that love those identities. So there's all kinds of Rwandans, right? There's complexity in human beings. There's some who are like, no, I love being Hutu. Okay. I'm a Hutu man. Or I love being Tutsi. I'm a Tutsi man.
Sure.
Or et cetera. Based upon my ancestor who identified as Tutsi, had a fantastic time conquering that hill over there. So I'm not going to forget that.
Sure.
And if he conquered it and said, I'm Tutsi, that's an identity they don't want to let go of. Or if he conquered it and he was Hutu, that's an identity he doesn't want. Or if a Hutu said, well, yeah, we're strong and we're stocky and we've like cultivated the hills of Rwanda, that's an identity someone wants to hang on to as well.
Sure.
There were all kinds of things that these identities led to, right?
Okay.
Pride, privilege, or death sentence in 1994.
Sure.
So I come from families that are both Hutu and Tutsi.
That was my next question is, what are you?
So that's such a loaded question for any Rwandan. Right?
Why?
Especially right now, post-genocide, it's going to be very hard, especially if you're in Rwanda, to have even this conversation of like, what are you? So
is that an offensive question to ask, or was the tone in which?
Yeah, it isn't to me.
Oh, it isn't to you. Okay, thank God. Okay,
I think it is essential that we talk about these things and where they came from.
Okay, but you don't go to Rwanda and ask which are you.
Yeah, because you got to also be careful about also the laws that tell you there's certain things you shouldn't talk about.
Say more.
Right. So right now, most Rwandan would say, well, we don't do those things, and then there's laws that say basically if you start to use terms like Hutu, Tutsi, or Twa, you're inciting genocide language.
Aha.
So you got to be careful how you speak about these things in the presence of Rwanda. But then you also have memorial that says the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsis in 1994. And that's an official way to be able to record the history of the genocide of Rwanda.
Sure.
Never mind that there was a bunch of Twa that were killed in the process, or Hutus that were killed in the process.
Sure.
But at the same time, I don't want to take away that the main target of the 1994 genocide was Tutsi.
Okay.
Right? Before they came for Tutsi, however, there was my experience as a child of someone who was in politics, where a bunch of folks who were politically active were literally assassinated, not because they were Hutu, not because they were Tutsi, but because they had the capacity to stop what was coming and the targeting that was about to happen to the Tutsis. So that was very clear as well.
These are political assassinations.
Complete political assassination.
Leading up to 94.
Exactly.
What, and give me a this is 90s, early 90s?
So
okay.
92, 93 becomes intense. So these political parties, I was telling you, people becoming prideful about their political party, extremists kind of like raising up, eventually it comes to head. Now, that particular party leader is a threat because he's gaining popularity. He's a threat to the establishment because who knows, they might be president next. And if he's president next, we get to lose what we were getting from France. Okay. Our Lear jets may disappear, or our, name whatever privilege that's coming with your involvement with a Western power, which at this point there's a lot. Mm-hmm. If you look at the war in 1994 and the weaponry that was in Rwanda at the time, you have weapons from Russia, U.S., Israel, France, China, right? And these were present. So these were groups that had interests in Rwanda as well.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So leading up to 94, you've got this rising tension. Now you're how old at this point? How old were you in 94?
94, 9, turning 10.
You're 9, turning 10. Yeah. Okay. So this is happening through your 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Okay. Exactly. What is your memory of this as a child? Because historically, obviously, we can look this up. But your memory of this, your day, how did this interfere with your day to day?
So, when my mom became politically active and after the opening of the multi-party system, she identified with the Social Democratic Party. Okay. And what
would that equate to in America?
I don't think you have that.
So is it left? Is it right? Or does it not apply?
Definitely kind of left. Because it's the farmers you're identifying with. You are wanting to take the wealth that had been concentrated heavily among a particular class and redistribute it.
More of a populist style. Populist. Okay, so left Democratic. We'd call them the Democrats. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And so now you have those in the political party of the president, and specifically the extremists who were in those political party, thinking, well, we can't have a popular movement where the farmers usurp us. So we need to manage that. Yeah. So at that time, there was a lot of death threats. So we would have extremist parties come and campaign in front of our house. So it was a regular
death threats to you?
Oh, yeah, my family. Absolutely.
Why would they call out your family specifically? What role did your mother play in this?
So my mom was a chapter leader in the South. Okay. And because she had this agriculture background and the daughter of a farmer, and who had gone, so she was the one who made it, went abroad, studied, came back, and was now helping her community. The farmers trusted her completely. And so she understands the game. Well, whatever Marianne kind of like tells us, we'll believe over the guy who just came with his clean shoes from Kigali and doesn't know how to hold, a hoe.
She's a woman of the people.
Exactly.
Got it.
And so a lot of dignitaries would come from the capital city to reach my mom's region, which my mom and my dad came from the last regions named whenever you were doing a roster of the regions of Rwanda. Okay. And so they would want to talk to my mom, who's an educated person, and basically try to get her to sway the farmers to be able to vote for them. Okay. And so whoever courted my mom's vote, it meant that, she had enemies for the ones that she didn't vote for.
Of course.
And that became very evident when the farmers would create these swing elections. They would create these swings within the elections of Rwanda.
So your mother had quite a bit of power then.
I would say in the South. So she was more so considered a nuisance to the establishment.
Sure. But enough of a nuisance where they're demonstrating in front of your home.
Very much so.
And as a little boy, what is your experience with this? Was this scary? Was it exciting? Was it...
It's about as scary as the KKK coming to protest in front of your house.
Violence.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it eventually devolved into threats where they would want to raid your house. And eventually they did. Like on one of our last experiences of our home in the South, they entered. And so we had to escape to the Congo long before the December 93, we spent it in the Congo because it was too unsafe to be in our home.
Because they had entered your home. They had gained access to your home.
Yeah. So my mom got us from the school and, in a hurry. And she was like, we have to escape.
She picked you up from school and you left town.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. And was that shocking? If that were to happen to my daughters, they would be shocked. Oh, yeah. They would be panicked. Was that shocking to you, or was that something that was just kind of a natural part of the course of what was going on at the time?
By this time, we're used to moving.
Okay.
But there was an urgency and fear in the way she came to get us.
This was an escalation.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So not quite a shock, but certainly more intense than it should have been.
I mean, while they're creating these political assassinations, the community that was my mom's friends, where we lived in the South, coalesced around us, organized watches for our house. And so we had guardians that would go on top of the roof and in order to allow us to sleep at night so that people won't come and, throw
people doing watches, essentially.
Yes, exactly.
Are these police?
No, this is community organized.
Where are the police?
The police were in the pocket.
What does that mean?
So they were owned by some of these extremists. So there's a
paid to stay away.
Yeah. So and also who had an interest. So one of the crazy stories I remember around this time, I don't remember where in 93 this occurred, but I remember my mom had taken me and we had left school, and I used to love to go to work with my mom.
Okay.
So after school, she would take me to whatever other project that was still left. And she would drop me off to some farmer's wife and then take the farmer out to his field to show him whatever it is she needed to show him. And so I grew up with these farmer kids.
Sure.
And so, she'll take her time returning. And I remember she used to drive this Mazda truck. It was a white Mazda truck with a solid grill in front of it. And she came back to pick me up from this farmer's house with an axe lodged in her windshield. Literally, someone had thrown an axe in her windshield, but they kept on driving. So she had a driver who kept on driving to try to get them the heck out of there.
What motivation would someone have to target your mother on a farm? Did they follow her out?
Yeah, no, they will follow her.
Follow her with an axe with the intention of...
Not just an axe. They will follow her, either destroy the bridge she had come on so that she doesn't have a way back.
God.
To trap her. And so she manages, but farmers loved her. So if they would destroy a bridge within 3 hours, a new bridge will be put down so her car can get past.
Wonderful.
And so I remember she came to get us. I'm like, Mom, do you know that there's an axe in your windshield? And she's like, yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I noticed.
So we get home and we see a convoy of official vehicles parked in our driveway. And then we enter our house, and the community, I guess it would be the equivalent of the mayor, was sitting in our living room drinking our drinks. And he was like, well, I just wanted to make sure you make it home safely. So he had been a part of this, that had authorized it. So he was really more so celebrating prematurely that these guys had found my mom and targeted her, and it was successful. And so we find him in our house drinking, our drinks.
Celebrating
that they finally got
sort
her.
of stomping on her ashes, essentially.
Yes, which was false, obviously. And
Harsh.
So he gets in the car and leaves. And this is the same group that targeted my mom in 1994 and threw her in a concentration camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's get to that. Can we jump into that?
We can.
I watched Hotel Rwanda last night for the first time in sort of preparation for this. And having researched some of the genocide and some of the incidents, I think I get the general idea, but I do know that most people are not familiar, other than the movie, with anything that was going on at the time. And, typical, unless you take the time to do the research. Yeah. So I also got the sense that while the movie was very moving, it was also very much a PG-13 version of what I later read was an unbelievably horrific situation.
Yes. G-rated more like it.
I would imagine so. And so if you're willing, let's talk about the actual version of what happened. And I'd like both the historical side, if you wouldn't mind, and then of course your experience of it through your, walk us through the 1994 through your eyes, if you would.
Interesting. And before I get there,
please.
Today I had a flat tire coming to hang out with you, and this young police officer, Frederick County, Officer Nelson, thank you. He, blocked the traffic, helped me out. And, we were talking and he was wondering where I was from. I told him I was from Rwanda, and he'd never heard of the 1994 genocide. And, he's a young guy, 24 years old.
Sure.
Rwandan genocide of 1994 occurred 30 years ago. And so I'm like, okay, yeah. So I gave him a little bit of details, but it's true. I mean, this is it's a thing that's kind of eclipsing the current generation of folks the young folks don't necessarily know about it. I mean, at the time of the 1994 genocide, there was a lot of news coverage, but all of that was for naught because not a lot was done. There was a lot of political, kicking the can in order to be able to intervene. So essentially for me, where 94 begins, we are coming from Congo because we've been hiding in Congo, my sister and I. My mom had dropped us off to our cousins in the Congo because my family used to live on both sides.
Okay.
And so we were coming because there was Easter weekend and we were taking a break. And for a 97% Christian, I would say, Catholics were in the majority, but a 97% Christian country, Passover weekend is a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah.
And so there wasn't a lot. We didn't hear as many assassinations taking place. We didn't hear that there was threats, and we didn't hear that people were still trying to overrun our home. So it felt safe enough to for my mom to feel like she can go get my sister and I and bring us to the capital city.
Trusting that there was going to be just a natural lull in the violence, at least just out of respect for the holiday.
Precisely.
Okay.
So we're driving up April 5th through the southern region. By April 6th, we are arriving to my dad. We're staying with my dad. My mom continued to do that project, so she went back south. And we thought it was just going to be another hangout experience with my dad, who was in the capital city. And my two older siblings were going to boarding school at the time. And so when my mom leaves, there was an aura of, there's an uneasiness in the capital city, but then again, when has it not been uneasy, especially since the political assassinations? So we didn't really think too much of it. But we knew, based upon the events, the things were pretty, it had become escalated.
It was bad, but it was kind of more of the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Precisely. So then, middle of the night, I think our dad was the one who came to get us because there was a flash somewhere he wanted us to see. And then we heard classical music playing on the radio. And then the radio announcers came, and then they were talking about the president's airplane has been shot down. And, literally the pathway of the plane goes over the presidential residence. We were several blocks from the presidential residence. And so we knew something was off because the plane really didn't land at the airport as it's supposed to. It had been rocketed at that time.
Sure.
And so then after these announcers came and then announced what they announced, classical music played the entire time after that. Usually there'll be some evening program, some radio show that would play on, some comedy or whatever.
So this was different.
It was completely different.
So that you recognized that something was off. Not necessarily wrong at that point, but off.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. It wasn't until the convoys and the roadblocks started to pop up early in the morning. So we're talking 4 or 5 a.m. or something like that. We hear military convoys.
Right.
And roadblocks are going up.
Right.
Soldiers are being positioned.
Okay.
And we were used to some roadblocks traveling, especially with the political assassinations.
Yeah.
Now it's every 2 blocks, 3 blocks from where we were in that residence, there's some sort of military presence.
Okay.
And so then by the wee hours in the morning, sun's coming up, you're hearing gunfire, and it's getting bad.
Okay.
We know that sound because we had been in war, but I know people in Kigali hadn't heard that sound. And so the protocol for war, after having been into 2 wars, was initiated in my family.
Okay.
Get to the center of the house, which has a long corridor, put as many things as you can block on the windows. Mattresses are on the windows to slow down the trajectory of the bullets, and then hunker down.
And you knew this?
Oh yeah, this is the learning that you get as a kid when you experience war at 6.
So there was no instructions to be given. Someone gave the signal, and you all knew what to do. Even as kids, you were involved in this.
Yeah. Our first war was the shocker.
Got it.
Because we lived next to a military base, and for 4 days we were stuck in the corridor, and we tried to look, and our dad would snatch us down.
4 days.
Yeah, 4 days.
Couldn't look over.
No, it was impressive amount of bullets. That
bullets entered your home.
House. Yeah, absolutely.
People firing through. So was there ever a scenario where the block, like that, you said you put up the hallway and put barriers and whatnot, bullets hitting that as well?
Oh yeah.
Lodged in mattresses, that kind of thing?
When the battle was over and we had escaped and came back in that first war, the refrigerator was shot up. My brother's dresser was shot up.
Wow.
The windows of the front was shattered. Bullets. And so 1994 was no different. So the same whizzing bullets, green and amber, different sizes. Okay. You can hear different sounds. I got really good at recognizing military weapons because of the first wars. So
you can recognize a 7.62 round versus a 5.56 round versus a...
I can recognize the difference between a ta-ta-ta-ta and then...
Oh, yeah, sure.
There's very different guns.
Of course.
So you have something that's mounted versus something that's held handheld.
So before you even reached double-digit ages, you were identifying firearms.
Oh yeah,
just having experienced the violence of that they caused. Jesus.
Correct.
Okay.
Because we are next to a military base, and kids are curious after war. You're like, what made the sound that went go go go? It's like, well, that's the dismounted thing, and it's like a massive gun.
That's the 50 cal.
Yeah, exactly.
That really hurts.
Precisely.
Yeah, got it.
And so 1994, we are just below the presidential residence by, a few blocks.
And sorry to interrupt you. The president was Hutu? Hutu. Okay.
Yeah, Habyarimana is his name.
What is his name?
Habyarimana. Juvenal Habyarimana.
Got it.
And so the elite guards have mounted weapons. And so over our head, you hear go, 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 go. And it's going over you. And then in response from some region down beyond where we are, ta, 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 ta. It's a response. It's like a call and response with weapons. Okay. And so we knew, it's going to be bad.
Do you guys have weapons in your house? Your father didn't keep any kind of firearms or weapons in the house?
Absolutely not. My dad abhorred any of that. My dad is a teacher.
Okay.
He's the head of discipline. So he's, disciplined a couple of people, but it's
a
with a yardstick. Yes, yeah.
But a peaceful man.
Yes, very much so.
Got it. Okay.
And at this time, he's Jehovah's Witness. And so for him, this was like, the end is coming.
Sure.
And really that's what it felt like after having experienced the first, second war. This is now it's worse. It feels worse. And then people are being rounded up. And you could see the convoys going round the clock, people going. And then by day 4, you start to see the dump trucks full of really horrific sights. And they're moving throughout the city.
Having been through this before, you had the benefit, you had the some context as to what was happening. But again, as a child, there was very little. We often turn to our parents for validation on is this okay? Is this not? You had been around your mother and father through prior conflicts. Did the look on their face change your perspective on this? Was this worse and you could tell, or were they scared more than you thought they would be? Or was this just another one of the same?
For sure. My dad, 100% was a little bit more unnerved than we remember him. He's a stoic man, and so it's very hard to even read his emotion. So he was visibly shook.
Yeah.
And there was a radio announcement that came on that we heard actually that indicated that they had captured my mom. They had taken her to a concentration camp and she should not be expected to live. And so,
why would they put that out over the radio?
Because she's the nuisance in the South that they finally have been able to quiet.
This was a celebration.
It's a celebration on
This
the
was a
radio.
victory speech.
Correct. And to be able to break spirits. So any farmers that have a thought of going against what's being planned,
It was propaganda.
you don't have your leader anymore.
You heard this from inside your home?
Correct.
Where was your mother at the time?
My mom had been taken to this concentration camp in the South.
Sorry, no. How did she get captured? I assume she was in the home with you.
So later, when we finally reconnected, oh no, my mom was not in the home with us.
Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry.
Off.
I missed.
Yeah,
okay, your mom goes. Okay, I missed that part.
No, my mom dropped us off on April 6th. And then continued to do agriculture projects.
Okay, so she didn't stay with you. No. Okay, so it's you and your father.
Yeah,
then. Okay,
they're separated.
Got it. So you hadn't seen your mom throughout any of this.
Only when she came to pick us up on the 5th in Congo.
Okay.
And driving us back, stopping briefly at the house in the South, and then continuing.
And that was it. Okay.
Off to Kigali.
And the next thing you heard about her was the radio.
Yeah, she's gone.
And she wasn't going to make it.
No.
What did that feel like?
I mean, my mom was one of my favorite human beings. And it was difficult to be with my dad because we mostly lived with my mom in the South, my sister and I. Yeah. And so, it was shattering,
Sure. Did you believe it?
We had no choice but to believe it. And the radio was announcing it. That's the national radio. It's the equivalent of if your CNN and Fox News and ABC were all collaborating the same story.
That your mom's been taken.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is truth.
Right. And if they're gone that far, she's not coming back.
And what's your father's reaction to this?
I mean, again, it's very stoic. My dad does not betray his emotion very easily.
Okay.
And so, but it was stiffer and more, okay, like now this is all we've got.
Okay.
So he was stricter, actually, I would say, to make sure that we're not caught up in that.
Okay.
So we were definitely quieter than we were in the first war and less disruptive to him.
Sure.
And we stayed in that house for about 2 weeks. And then there was a brief pause where the radio announcement came on and told people to go out and cut shrubberies and bushes where people or enemies could be hiding. We got fired on. We went back in the house. And so by 2 weeks, we had seen convoys, horrific dump trucks. We had been sent out, quickly ran back into the house. We kind of had the range. And then there was neighbors who would come and go, and kind of more furious neighbors who would give dad some word as well. So one of the neighbors had indicated that there was a convoy circling around now asking for our name and the family of Marianne and trying to figure out where we lived. And that was really the thing that told my dad that it was time to escape.
Of course.
That and the fact that we were running out of food. And the markets aren't open and you're not going to be able to shop. So I remember when dad came, he was like, it's time to go. We saw the neighbor, very fierce. Like the guy was gardening in the middle of a war zone. But he saved our life. And so it was one of these weird things where the convoys couldn't find us because of something wrong with our address, whether it was a crooked number. They just didn't find us. And he had told my dad that he told the convoy that they were looking for a much richer family and, they need to go further up the neighborhood.
Okay.
And so that's the thing that saved us. So our neighbors, some weird coincidences with the location of the house, dad gets us mobilized. And then he's like, we need to get to hit the road.
And what does hitting the road look like?
That is walking 90 miles.
90 miles.
Correct.
So you snuck out your backyard basically and
snuck out in the backyard, avoided unexploded ordinances and kept on going. So my dad had us wear the most ragged clothes that we had. So clothes that had holes in it, which he would never allow us to wear in the first place. But we're wearing these rags and we're putting mud on it. And He himself took off his glasses, and so like a sign of an intellectual at the time.
Sure.
They would stop you if you looked threatening.
So he's disguising you essentially, from what your true roots are.
Precisely.
Got it.
And so,
who's with you at the time? Who's this?
Dad, my 2 oldest brothers, sister, me, and a cousin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
he's the only adult.
He's the only adult. Yeah.
Okay.
But at this point, my oldest brother and my second oldest brother and our cousin are technically like adult-ish because they have grown up faster than us, and they know to care for us.
Sure.
Really,
they're in their teens.
They're in their teens.
Okay.
And so their responsibility to take care of the younger ones is going to fall on them too.
Sure.
So
did they do a good job at that?
Oh yeah, I love my sibling, my brothers, my sister too. I think for me, I never got to a place where I felt completely alone because there was always one of them with me, always. And so that's one of my favorite thing about how we moved as a family. It was like better than a military unit. We looked after each other.
Very good.
Or more so, they looked after me a lot. Like I got tired of walking at a certain point.
Sure.
I remember being on my dad's back. I remember my brother Freeman holding my hand.
Yeah.
So these are my favorite memories.
Sure. Yeah. Precious memories.
Yeah.
In the middle of a horrific situation, of course.
Precisely. And then my brother Innocent has to be my dad's eyes. So because my dad, he had astigmatism with his glasses, boy. Like they were Coke bottles, man.
So for survival purposes, he's now effectively blinded.
Precisely.
And now you got your teenager navigating.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so we're going and passing. I think we must have passed about 20 roadblocks before reaching the outskirts of the capital.
The roadblocks are asking you for ID, I assume?
Yeah. So the first roadblocks, mostly military. Who are you? Your ID? Are you Hutu or Tutsi? And so my dad.
Same question I asked.
Exact. Right.
Hence
So my dad having this identity card that says Hutu for him, but the next page over would have identified that he was married to a woman who was Tutsi or half Tutsi, the kids and all of us. So that would have been dangerous. So it was this. This is
in hopes that they wouldn't flip the page.
Precisely.
And they didn't. Sounds like
no, they didn't. The military just waved us through.
Sure. So you're friendlies.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about you. They will look kind of side eye my brother, who was too skinny at the time.
Okay.
A little too tall for his age.
Okay.
And so that was a problem. Again, they call back to the craniology and the pseudosciences of measuring Rwandans and determining whether they're Hutu or Tutsi by their height.
I read in one of the articles that featured you had mentioned something about the shape of someone's nose being, explain this.
So this again goes back to this pseudoscience. So the more European your nose, so if it's not flat and stubby, or flared, they'll say, well, you have a Tutsi nose. And if it's pointy and, and you're tall, well, you have a European feature, you must be Tutsi. And so that's the way these extremists on these roadblocks, the Interahamwe group, the ones who were perpetrating a lot of these killings, were the extremists. They were to try to identify you this way. And then, years later, I think someone went to Arusha, and where some of these guys were being kept before the War Crimes Tribunal, and asked them how accurate you were. It was a 30% accuracy of who they wanted to target. So a bunch of people.
30%.
30%.
So 70% of the people killed
indiscriminately, or because you didn't have enough money to pay someone off.
Sure.
But also because of those damned cards, so many Tutsi people were killed. Right? So those who identified as Tutsi on the identification cards, without a doubt.
Just instant.
If you have that on it's a letter.
How does that? I want to get back to the history of it, but how does that affect you today when you see certain policies enacted throughout? Is there anything that's happened in the modern days where you reflect back to the identity basically turning into a death certificate and the identity politics that have been of late? How does that affect the lens by which you view some of these things?
I think you're cautious. You're cautious of any document given to you that tells you who you are.
Interesting.
I am always cautious of any document that tells me who I am. Any box that I check, like, what is this going to be used for?
Okay, this is interesting. So all the stuff that we just take for granted, like are you Latino or white or
black or just the Mexican descent, etc. I'm always nervous. Who's collecting this information for what purpose?
So when the option is choose not to answer,
man, if I could do that, most of the time I want to, but at the same time, it isn't to say I don't feel proud of being an African, for example, right? I know I'm African.
Sure.
Anyone who would have met me while I still had my accent,
sure,
would have said you're an African.
Sure.
So I want to be clear. My nervousness comes from some bureaucrat determining what that information is going to be used for, not because someone is like, I'm going to choose to be proud of a Scottish background.
Yeah.
Right. If you have your Scottish coat of arms in your home, you're Scottish by descent. Right. You may not be in the Highlands. You may not be wearing a kilt, but there's something prideful that you have about that.
Yeah.
Or you're British and you're like, well, yeah, that, we love our monarchs.
That is until they start lining Scottish people up and shooting them, at which point you might have a little bit of a hesitation.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you're not proud of being Scottish. It means being Scottish can cause problems.
Precisely.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
So, so there's a wariness. It's not as extreme now when I see boxes and bubble and, identify yourself to us, the authorities, but it is there.
Okay. That's interesting. So still inside.
Yeah.
Go back then. So you were in the house for most of the atrocities, at least that you experienced. Now you walked 90 miles. You said you saw some horrific things. Did you ever actually see anyone being killed?
Thousands.
Thousands.
Thousands of people.
In what context? Obviously not from inside your home.
Not inside our home. Inside our home we saw the dump trucks, and it was very clear what was inside.
Okay.
And so on the roadblocks, you could be traveling. And people tend to gravitate to people. So even when you're trying to flee, you get in groups.
Groups, yeah.
So you'd have, say, a group of 20 approaching a roadblocks. Mm-hmm. The first 5 identified by the identification cards as the target are gone in front of you.
Gone.
Assassinated.
You're in a line waiting, checking IDs. Assassinated how?
So, find any John Wick movie.
Really?
All the different ways.
Just indiscriminately, right in front of the kids, just whack.
Correct.
Yeah. What's that feel like as a child?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So there's a degree of fear you have from mundane fears. Fear of spiders will set people going. Fear of rats. Fear of death. You have a very healthy fear of death.
Yeah.
You don't engage in any activity that makes you want to lead to that. So then you get that fear, and then you start to walk, and you hear the gunfire, and then that fear raises up another tier.
Yeah.
And then you get to the roadblocks, and you see those people in front of you suddenly are gone, and they're not coming back. That's another tier.
Sure.
And then you have to repeat that. Rinse, repeat 20 times. There is a degree to which numbness has to step in order for your body to continue functioning.
When did that step in?
By probably the second roadblock.
Second roadblock?
Oh, yeah.
So the first one was obviously a surprise.
Yeah. Because we didn't know that was the extent to which people were going to... We had stopped at military roadblocks before.
Right.
When the war was happening in 1990, 1991, we'd been stopped before. It wasn't like that.
They weren't leaving bodies on the ground. Yeah.
Not to that degree. The war in 1990, 91, you had some, but they were like off to the side, or it's because 2 armies are engaging one another because there's a military base there. You saw soldiers in uniform on the ground. This was different.
You saw blood fly. That was your intro to what was actually happening was blood flying in front of your face.
Right.
Jesus.
So, is that going to be my fate? Is the question you ask.
20 times.
And that completely vanishes from your head because the next thing is like survival. So you look down and your legs are going. I remember looking down and I'm like, disconnected from my legs. That they're doing what they're supposed to do, and there is just disbelief that this is happening. Or I'm on my dad's shoulder, and because I'm on my dad's shoulder, there's places now I'm able to see that my siblings aren't able to see. Down the ditch.
What are you seeing?
Horrific.
Bodies?
Horrific.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Did you know any of these people?
They're friends, their family members that were caught up and swept up in that we found out about later.
Sure.
The ones that were traveling with us, I'm sure my dad knew. Some of them we would encounter on the road.
Okay.
In the first war, one of my dad's best friend was killed in front of us. So it's,
wow.
Yeah. These are not combatants. These are not soldiers. These are people literally trying to flee.
Yeah, these are civilians, and we use that term a lot, which is it's disarming. But these are kids.
Yeah.
You were a kid.
Mothers, babies, kids.
Yeah, you just reading books, watching cartoons, and then assassinations.
Correct.
Jesus. So you go through 20 of these,
Right.
20 near-death experiences or potential death experiences.
Correct.
By number 2, the shock is set in.
Complete.
And now your body's gone into full just auto mode.
Fight or flight, survival.
And how did everyone else in all your siblings same?
Yeah, I would imagine, or at least for sure when I talk to them, I know. Like my sister, who we've experienced pretty much almost the same life up to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be a woman at that time, that is like one of the, I think about it, and I think about what my sister went through, that I didn't even have the thought, the capacity to grasp. War is dangerous to everybody. It is especially dangerous to women and children. And so I remember towards the more further out roadblocks, then we're talking, someone coming and saying, we're taking your daughter to my dad. You have to make a choice between your daughter or your sons. That was a very real experience. Or you're running out of money like my dad was, and someone immediately identifies my brother Freeman as, he's a target. He looks Tutsi. We don't care what your identification card says. That's a Tutsi child right there. So slap him on the blunt side of a machete to the side, about to basically take him to the ditch. And we see my dad, he's bleeding. I mean, literally, we ransomed my brother back with a broken wristwatch, his wallet, and a pound of sugar. That's the going price of a life. There were people in these roadblocks where they would pay money to be shot because they didn't want the machete. And some of these were so brutal. They will have blunt objects and garden tools. So there are people who would pay so that they wouldn't die that way.
Say that one more time. There were people that would pay
for a bullet so that they wouldn't die by a machete or a blunt object or a bat spiked with nails.
So that's such a dire situation that the bullet was was mercy.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you sharing this. This is a concept. No one in my life has any concept of anything like this. We all talk about trauma as if we know what trauma is, but this is trauma that we have absolutely no concept of. Do you get bitter about humanity's capability to do these kind of things later in life? We'll get to the details, a lot of that I'm sure in a bit, but having experienced that level of just egregious, horrific behavior, do you lose faith? Does it tear you down to know that that's possible?
There's a huge temptation to.
Okay.
Until you realize you're human. The very word that describes the people that populated Rwanda is human, Bantu. Bantu is a word that over 3 million of us Africans know from different tribes and groups and countries, we're human. Humans have this capacity. At the time, it did not look like these folks perpetrating these things were human. They looked possessed. It looked like something out of a Cthulhu novel that some entity had taken over. When you try to understand it, it's baffling. So losing faith in humanity doesn't even come just yet because it's so baffling. It makes no sense why you would do that. What purpose does that really serve? And yet you accept that for someone it did. And so then you try to understand, especially if you have to live with human beings, what next? Like, how do you live with humans?
Knowing that that's possible,
capable.
that we all have that in us at some point.
Correct.
Do you feel like the people that perpetrated these things, let me word that better. Are these bad people? Are they people doing bad things, or are these bad people?
I have no doubt that there are many people with malice that were in that. I have no doubt that there's some deranged individuals that were among that. It's the everyday folks that got caught up in it that is baffling always. And so then you don't know how to classify, is this person evil or good? You can say someone who, if you have a serial killer and they're perpetrating these things and that's the thing that they know because of some shift in who they are, whether chemical or otherwise, it could almost be like understandable. It's still not really something that makes sense to me why we kill each other.
Sure.
I understand that it happens. I understand that we're capable of it.
Sure.
It still doesn't make sense. And so then to parcel it, right? So I grew up Christian. I grew up with the Christian concept of good and evil. I grew up with the concept of possession because I was Catholic and exorcisms were acceptable.
Sure.
So, but even that is still divorced from this experience somehow. Is it a devil that entered Rwanda in 1994? Could be. Is this how you experience evil? Could be.
Sure.
Does evil exist in this world? This is a question I'm still trying to understand. Because even that concept of evil, good and evil in that regard, were really the concept of evil. I understand good. I understand good and varying degrees of good. There is the good of, well, good on you for letting this guy, enter the lane in front of you. Or the Mother Teresa, like,
sure,
good. Or I'm going to donate my kidney, good. These words we use very simply, but they're so loaded. But back to the question of evil. Had you asked me that question before I resolved what had occurred and happened to my mom and who had perpetrated that, I would have told you, yeah, evil exists. And I could point to the guy who's evil.
Okay.
When I look at being Hutu and Tutsi, and then I look at how those stories have been used, shaped, warped, there's a resolution I had to go through. Am I the victim or the victimizer? And there's a lot of people in Rwanda that have these questions too. If I'm half Hutu or a quarter Tutsi, am I good or am I bad? Does the existence of Hutu-ness means that there is potential for evil if the Hutu is the perpetrator? If I look at what happened with, say, RPF soldiers who came and found their families killed and lost it, is that evil? So if I'm connected to them by this identity, does that mean I have that? So you still want to ask. It eventually comes back to you, like, right? I heard this thing where if you point one finger forward, there's like 3 or 4 pointing right back at you.
Yeah.
So what are these 3 fingers telling me when I point at you? And if I choose to call the person in front of me a word, evil or good, what does that mean about me? So I know I haven't really clearly answered this question, but we must wrestle with this question. And so where I land on is, does morality exist and immorality exist? Yes. If we have laws and laws that are meant to allow human beings to live together in a way where all of our potential could be realized, those laws that are created curb the immorality, the capacity that will prevent that potential from being explored, whether through death, murder, or even limited access or denial of access. If we're looking at, say, even the system of slavery, for example, immorality, right? Anything that's going to prevent a human being from experiencing their life in fullness the way they have the capacity to can be moral. If you're anything that goes totally taboo and against what our established value system and truth is, could be seen as immorality. And so does that exist in this world today? Yes, and there's a prevalence of it now. Morality also exists. So, and these are all learned because we have to teach kids, well, this is good. When you do this, you can't hit Timmy, that's bad. The moral thing to do if you see someone misbehaving versus the moral thing to do when someone is misbehaving. We can go deeper into just war theory if you want to make it more complex. But we have this. We figured out long ago as human beings that these things needed to happen. The social compact or contract had to happen in order for us to be able to organize ourselves into these societies.
Sure.
So, yeah, morality is what I land on. What's moral? How are you behaving towards that end? Does morality break down during war? 100%.
Sure. But as you said, morality is learned, and therefore those behaviors are learned.
Yes.
And can therefore be unlearned.
Correct.
If with the appropriate training or education. Sure.
Precisely.
Sure. I read in one of your articles that one of your stated goals was to go back and be able to teach and educate to this end. Is that still something you're looking to do?
100%.
Good.
Peacemaking. I've gotten deeper now into the world of peacemaking. So I've met Native American tribes that have taught me peacemaking. I've worked with Chief Justice Robert Yazzie of the Dene people, Navajo to some people. That taught me peacemaking. I've worked with Quakers at Guilford College that taught me peacemaking, at the Department of Multicultural Education that teach me peacemaking, the Guilford College Conflict Resolution Resource Center. I've studied from Gandhian theory, right? Satyagraha and love force. And I've studied from Maya Angelou. You can find peacemaking even in poetry and writing.
Sure.
So there's so much that I've been exposed to and so much of life that I'm so grateful to have had that I could tell you a dozen people didn't want me to have, that 20 roadblocks didn't want me to have.
Sure. And yet here you are.
That I would, yeah. And those are things that I'd love to share. I would love to share Tibetan, peace practices and how to cultivate empathy from sitting mindfully.
Sure.
That would be something.
That's something that's something you still want to do.
Oh yeah.
Very good. What does that look like? Is that
yeah.
You go to Rwanda and then what?
It's not even just going to Rwanda. It's like everyday relating.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Got it. So we're not talking just necessarily in Rwanda.
It's expanded now.
Got it.
Everywhere I go, I am a collection of these lessons. Everywhere I go, those are the ancestors that are walking with me.
Okay.
I have multicultural ancestors now because I learned from all of these different traditions and walk of life and different people.
Got it.
Rwanda is very precious to me because they're the most immediate identification, right? To my Rwandanness and their Rwandanness will get together and we get and understand Rwandanness.
Got it.
What does Rwanda look like? But we're also Bantu. And so we have these Bantu approaches to peacemaking that we definitely forgot in those spaces, in that time. And still do forget, still, even today.
Is that learn? And you think we can educate those and prevent some of this atrocity in the future?
So there is I will give the example of an epigeneticist. If you take a culture of cells, and you put them in toxicity, they start to be toxic and die. You may take one of those cells and actually put it in a culture of like growth, and you've created some solution that is like amicable to that cell and it thrives. These are learned things, even at a genetic level.
Got it.
We have capacity, right? Innately, there's something about us that recognize one another and makes us not want to do that naturally. But then there's also ways in which you can train people. You can indoctrinate them. You can expose them to psychological violence to make them behave in a way that is not conducive to community, to humanity, or the way that we describe the concept of humanity.
Sure. Many of us, almost all of us, don't have the wisdom you have, and certainly don't have the experiences you have. What is it that an average everyday person watching this can do to help with this process?
Peace is every day, right? So if you want to sit on a Sunday afternoon and watch your favorite program, whether it's a football or a nice TV show, there's a degree of peace you'd like to have in your home. Remember, someone else would like to have that too. If you're driving on the road and you're doing your best to get to where you're going, someone else wants to do that too. It doesn't have to be these high concept. What do I need to do so that I allow that person the potential to experience their life as fully as I would like to experience mine? If you could ask that question every time you picked up something or wanted to do an action, it could be very helpful. That is working towards peace. Now, if you want to get in the nitty-gritty and say, how do I cultivate empathy? There's ways you could sit, and literally Tibetan Buddhists could teach you how to sit and cultivate empathy every day so that you don't keep identifying with suffering.
What does that look like? You said Tibetan can teach you. What would they teach you?
So one of the things that I learned when I was studying religious studies at Guilford College, and then when I really got into Tibetan Buddhism because it was such a fascinating it's a fascinating system of belief. At the height of my PTSD, it was very difficult for me to be on the road. It was very difficult to hear backfire. It was very difficult to if I was cut off to like downregulate the system.
Rage?
It wasn't just rage. You mean the experiencing of rage on the road?
Yes.
I've had my share. Anybody in 495 who has not experienced road rage,
No, I was more referring to was it rage? Was the emotion that comes up while you were driving?
There's fear.
Fear.
There's profound fear that can impact you, or that was impacting me when I was in these scenarios.
Okay.
And it was dysregulating to experience it being cut off or some road rage incident with someone.
Got it.
And so I worked on this with a meditator, and it was a lama actually who gave me a teaching called Tongleg. It's called sending and receiving. If you look at Pema Chodron, she's a Tibetan nun. She has education on this particular practice. The sending and receiving, where if you're experiencing something, especially suffering of some sort, whether it's anxiety, you're on the road, or you're experiencing some sort of fear, if you can imagine someone in your family to begin with is experiencing or has experienced that, how would you want to treat them? And then you send them that feeling, that experience of treating them as they're in this. And then you can imagine that it isn't just your family, but somewhere around the world, there's someone also in this moment experiencing fear, as you're experiencing fear, anxiety, as you're experiencing anxiety, heartache, heartbrokenness. And then you want to treat them the way you would treat your family member. And you send that feeling out. The more you practice sending those good feelings, those good experiences to them in compassion, because you're identifying your experience of this suffering with them, the more you develop this part about yourself, right? This empathy starts to grow within you for the world. The beauty of that practice is eventually it allowed me to see different, especially as I worked with, say, therapists and folks who studied internal family systems, and realizing that there are different parts of yourselves that you haven't resolved. They're little children versions of yourself that, didn't get what they wanted and they're still sour about it.
Yep.
Adult versions of yourself that got heartbroken and now you're beyond it because, that relationship is gone. When you see the fleet of beings that are you, that you're carrying within you, and you have that practice, you can send that to yourself. And you can begin to learn how to regulate your own system through that compassion. So the Tibetans say, send it out, and eventually it'll cultivate within you, and it's true. There's also send it to yourself, and eventually the more you heal these parts of yourself, that fleet of yous that have been abandoned or heartbroken, the more it's going to occur to you to be able to offer it to other people.
Interesting. And is this something the lay person can you are so you best I can tell, you spent a lifetime cultivating all of this knowledge and this experience, and obviously the results are speak for themselves. You're like a walking beacon of I know you probably don't feel like that, but for the rest of us experiencing you, it's just been a pleasure.
Still working at it.
What is can the lay person implement portions of this?
You don't need to be Tibetan Buddhist, right? So if, for example, you have a kid at home and you're a parent, you're constantly developing this muscle. They hurt themselves. You want to kiss their boob, you want to hug them. Imagine if you could picture all the thousands of millions of kids in conflict zones right now around the world that needs that kind of hug. And literally just have the thought to send that feeling, all right? That's cultivating it at a lay person level. You don't need to have, sign up at a nunnery and become Mother Teresa to be able to be the heart of compassion. Or even in your community, it's winter time in the United States. Who's fed around your neighborhood? Who's not, right? If your belly is full, think about those whose bellies are not full. If you've ever been hungry, think about those who are hungry around the world. If you are hungry, even in that moment where you could be thinking purely about yourself fully, if you just manage to say someone else is also having this experience, that in itself is like a cultivation of empathy and compassion.
Multiply that by 8 billion people or however many we have now, and you've got a better world.
I certainly agree. And you don't even need to convert a religion. There's a way to do it. And we have the capacity to. If you can tell me that I can reach one of my cousins in a heartbeat through a social media account, we have a way to do it.
Sure. Unprecedented communication capability and access, which means dispersing empathy has never been easier.
Precisely.
Yet we don't do it enough. Why?
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't presume to be an authority on that. It's not happening.
No.
And we could get lost into why. You can say culture, politics, indoctrination, violence, whatever, we're still making excuses.
How about ignorance? Lack of knowledge, lack of education.
It does have an impact. It plays a role.
Sure.
But I don't want to state any of these things as excuses. Like, why didn't I show empathy today to the guy that wanted to enter my lane?
Sure.
That's a very easy question to ask yourself. Well, maybe I was feeling like this is my lane. I own it.
Sure.
Do you really own it?
Sure.
Or does the public works department own it? And so I think it's because we can also be distracted. I think we're distracted a lot from opportunities where we can show this compassion and this empathy. And stories. I think it's hard to listen to certain stories that tease that out of us.
Sure.
So
interesting. I wonder, the foundation of much of your growth and healing is based upon, obviously, the suffering of the past. Often hardships are what are those that endure hardships are the strongest, right? Yeah. That's just the nature of humanity. And yet we have created a culture where hardships have been all but eliminated. That's almost the stated goal. If we don't, we want to eliminate as much hunger as we can and safety problems and that sort of thing. And yet we've become soft. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Is more hardship a recipe for success for some? Is the hardship that you endure something that you view back on as a certainly not yours, but is hardship of some sort a blessing in disguise for the young?
I think doing hard work helps. You develop so many different kinds of muscles.
Sure.
Intellectually, emotionally. But then because we're using the word hardship, I'm like, do I want that for anybody? No, I don't want you to be in a hardship at all. I wish we can learn these lessons without having to go through extremes and to know a different way.
Can we?
Yeah. So this is the part that I'm teasing at right now. I'm realizing the ancestors that led to me long before the Rwandan wars. Before, when I was still a kid, happy-go-lucky, running with my grandfather. The going with the grandfather, for example, like communing with someone of a different generation from you isn't a hardship necessarily, unless if they can't really understand you.
Right.
But it helps, right? Like there are certain things that you can put in your programming that aren't hardship that can still lead to these lessons. But there's something about struggling with something and really kind of like having your ego teased out in front of you, like, that hardship does.
Sure.
That helps. I love gardening with my mom. I used to, and she was more like, so she's in a wheelchair now. But I used to love it. There's something about going in the dirt, moving the earth, and how hard that is, that makes the food taste so good, especially when it finally grows and it ends on your plate. And it makes you so appreciative. And it makes you appreciative of the hands that are involved in all the other foods that you can't cultivate on your own, right? So being in California, I'm so grateful for the farmers that literally are the breadbasket of the United States, or the Midwest farmers, or the folks from countries that don't even know where we import food here in the United States, that haven't had that experience with my mother makes me appreciate farmers and farming and what that does for humanity.
Sure.
And is that me appreciating hardship? I would say it's me appreciating what hard work offers me in terms of gratitude.
Sure. What about trauma? As far as a strengthening agent?
Yeah. So now we're in the age where you have these capital T traumas and lowercase t traumas. I never want anybody to like come to a trauma Olympics. We're not comparing trauma.
No.
Uh, it's just, we're suffering. It's suffering. Will trauma shock you into behaving in a completely different way for the better sometimes? Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't rely on that as a teaching tool because of just how much it impacts your psyche. Dysregulation, the experience of PTSD, the experience of hypervigilance or anxiety or just lack of peace in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't wish that on an enemy.
Really?
Like, I can't think of someone that I would say, this is what you need to do right by humanity. It's such an expensive lesson.
What would you say? Because the trauma you experienced was so extreme, right? There are very few people on this earth, mercifully, that could relate to that directly, and thank God for that. But as you said, trauma does occur, big T, little t, whatever it is. There are sort of two schools of thought. One of which you hear through therapy all the time, is that big T or little t. My bad day, my worst day was the same as your worst day. Yeah, in perspective, from my perspective, kind of thing. But my worst day was certainly nowhere near your worst day in any kind of realistic context. So the mentality seems to be that we don't compare traumas, as you said, kind of thing. But there's another side to this that will people that will watch this and they'll hear your story and they will say, well, I complain about my trauma in the past, but it was nowhere near. I got bullied in junior high, but there was, I certainly didn't watch people get slaughtered in front of my face at 9 years old. And therefore maybe I should just suck it up. What do you say to people who dismiss their own trauma or try to compare traumas?
I got bullied in the US when we first got here, mercilessly because of my accent. I still have a lot of compassion for the kids who've been bullied. Even if they'd never had my worst day. It is such a horrific experience.
It is.
It's something that needs to be worked through. That's part of that fleet of views that require tending to. Because when you can tend to that, when I finally tended to the bullying I experienced in Prince George's County, oh man, I thought, hey, I was making all this progress on my PTSD. Now I have to also face these things too.
Yeah.
There's some who've experienced that as mountains of trauma.
Sure.
And I was shoveling mountains of muck from the Rwandan genocide.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, I have to do that and that? That just doesn't seem fair. So what I'm trying to say is that's not a small lift. There are people who are experiencing all kinds of trauma. And yeah, war and genocide is on a different order and magnitude of experience. But don't underestimate what the bully experience can do to a human being. Don't underestimate what bullying can do to a human being. It may seem benign, but you remember it even from junior high. I remember it even from junior high. And it's shaped us. There are moments where we've experienced impatience because some of those things are being triggered.
Sure.
Moments where we want to lock up, where we're dysregulated, where we want to cope, where we want to numb. It can't be underestimated. And so if you're hearing it and you're saying, well, that's my worst day isn't as bad as that, man, let me give you a hug. I'm sorry you had a bad day, period, when you experienced that.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. It's an interesting perspective. It's a very mature view of it. You spent your life healing,
Yep.
and now spend it healing others, or at least trying to. And do you still have triggers to this day? Do you still struggle even after all this work?
They will always be there, at least from the work that I've experienced. It's my relationship to these triggers that matters the most to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Will I still experience some recoil when I hear a gunshot?
Mm-hmm.
So I just came from West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I was spending time with one of my mentors. And it's hunting season. And hunters are out. That sound still gets me.
Brings you right back.
I hate guns.
I don't blame you.
And I understand, there are folks who need it to protect themselves, folks who need it to be able to get food on the table. Man, that sound. I mean, it definitely, I have an association with that. It's not just benign.
No.
Yeah.
It's quite literally a trigger.
Yes.
Yeah. Something that reminds you of some of the most horrific things that anyone's ever experienced.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then I also went back home to Rwanda. So I walked a stretch of about 10 miles of some of the most horrific experiences that my mind in its wisdom attempted to protect me from by reducing sensation or creating memory gaps or et cetera, et cetera. And walking it, of course, when I would look at a field, I don't look at an empty field in that stretch the same way. I still experience the possibility of bodies there because I have that memory there. And how generous of an offering from the universe for me to be able to walk that path. I didn't die there. Angels were looking at me. And to be able to experience those fields, that eucalyptus forest, that grove in a new way. That was so necessary. I wish that for everybody who have had an experience in a place or with a human being that has shaped you profoundly, and in a negative experience that shaped you. I wish for another experience for you. Like, I wish for someone who's had a hard time to have a different experience with that same variation of place or time, to know what it's like to have two different experiences of the same space. One of the things that happened when I was walking in April, I came across a village of people gathering for one of the memorials in a place that I know, and I remembered hundreds had been killed there. And to see human beings sitting and talking about peacemaking right in the same ground where I remember a lack of peacemaking, to say the least. That completely interrupted so many different cycles that my brain goes through about that place.
Explain that feeling, standing there.
Obviously, there's always a part that's like, am I safe? That comes first.
Okay.
But then when you're truly in the space and you're present with it, and you're hearing the language that's being used in that space, it isn't hate, it isn't violence. It's how can we support each other? How can we remember appropriately what happened? How could we behave with one another so that that doesn't happen again? It's profound. It is. It's emotional. And the two events opposing each other in experience and how different they are, it creates so much friction in my brain, not in a negative way, but like the friction of possibility. Something else could happen, something different. The friction of possibility of relating to place, to people, to my own memory. That was the memory of a 9-year-old me versus the memory of a 30-some-year-old me. Now they're side by side. There will be other memories I could have about that place. That opening alone created layers to draw from. Now my brain is like mix matching different things. Like there, I also got to hear the sound of a Bluetooth speaker coming on in a place where I remember horrific sounds. And that was like, I could go to the Bluetooth speaker a lot faster now than I do those sounds.
Wow.
And that's great.
Sure.
It's hilarious to hear a Bluetooth speaker too. So I don't know,
the friction of possibility.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
An amazing moment. Just it's more expansive emotionally than something I can even imagine. Just to have the two extremes to come together like that.
Precisely.
Would you call that healing? Was that healing for you?
Oh yeah.
Did you walk away feeling better than when you walked in there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that might not be the prescription for everybody who went through something like that. But for me, it was necessary. When I had gotten to a place where I've done a lot of work in mentally healing, sitting down and understanding my psychology, these regulation cycles and cycles of trauma. I'm still learning.
Sure.
But it got to a place where I knew I needed to be able to revisit that place anew.
Sure.
And one of the things actually that was told to me was to experience that place in reverse so that I may be able to close the loop on it emotionally.
Closure.
Yeah.
Actually physically closing.
Exactly.
Through the direction of walking.
Precisely.
Did that work?
I think so.
It sounds a little kind of hokey, but I'm very curious whether that you actually experienced that sensation.
I don't know how to describe it.
I'm certainly not trying to diminish its effects. It's just, it's when you kind of hear stuff like that. It's like, walk backwards, what? But it kind of has some logic to it.
Yeah. We were heading south when that journey took place. I chose to head north. By its very definition, you're going in opposing directions. If not physically, that you're doing something completely opposite. The fact that you're recording it in a different way is effective for your brain.
Interesting.
I'd never seen that road that way. It created a sense of curiosity that I didn't want to have when I was experiencing the memory of that place. I don't have a desire to be curious anymore of how many different ways a human being can die.
Because of that healing.
Yeah.
Because what once was slaughter on the left side of the road is now healing on the right.
Right.
Interesting.
So it has its place. When you've done enough work to be able to revisit some of your trauma zones, whether mentally or physically, going there is also an act of empowerment and reclaiming your energy and yourself that was lost there. There was a profound experience that I had on that road where I reclaimed a part of that 9-year-old. And it's a joy that I was missing from that person. I got up after I left that little circle of people. I found this hill, and these two little boys were playing around the same age I was, just down below the hill. Don't know what happened there. it had just finished raining a little while earlier before the people came out. And I stopped. I was wringing out my socks. And, Rwandan rain is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It gets everywhere.
Okay.
So I'm drenched. Even when I was sitting with the people, I was drenched. So I needed to really wring it out. And my socks wringing out, and I'm seeing these kids giggling and laughing and playing with our traditional ball made of like banana leaves and like really ingenious designs.
Yeah.
No inflation necessary. They've completely lost track of the goats that they were supposed to be watching. The goats are in definitely someone's yard, eating someone's sweet potatoes. And they are carefree.
Mm.
And that was a missing component of that 9-year-old at that time.
The innocence of it.
He didn't have that carefreeness.
Mm.
And to experience now this road in reverse where I encountered these two kids at that age, it was profound. And there's someone I got to pick up that I haven't held in a very long time.
I wonder how many people can say that statement.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What a gift.
For sure.
Brave to go back, but worth it, sounds like.
100% worth it. I'll do it 1,000 times. I don't want to, but I would.
Those of us that don't have a path to walk backwards on physically,
Yeah.
what is the equivalent of that for people that have dealt with abuse?
Yeah.
Or, and I'm not looking for a diagnosis by any stretch, but those have been abused, bullied, raped. I mean, name it. What is the equivalent of that? What does the walk backwards along the path look like?
First, I mean, those are really profound and hard, difficult experiences.
Yeah.
For people.
Yeah.
So I don't want any of my answer to make light of that experience. I know that experience as well. There's so many ways you can come back to you as an act of reclaiming something that was taken from you in an empowering way. In those moments, if you could remember, now you have the capacity to hold that you and offer that you what they needed the most in that moment. That's walking back to you. I'm a big believer of like supporting your inner kid, even as an adult. There are times when I want to go out and watch a movie because my kid is like, I haven't watched a movie in a long time. And I do that. I don't care if I'm by myself. It's nice to go with people. But to just honor that there was a kid in you who recognized he needed to go see a movie or eat ice cream. I'm definitely healthy on the ice cream part. But I so encourage honoring your inner kid and what they need, because they allowed the adult you to actually be functional and not dysfunctional. So that's walking back to you. These little things that you could do for yourself that you feel like, oh, I shouldn't do that. It'll be selfish of me.
Right.
If it's little, like an ice cream,
Yeah.
like I want an ice cream today.
Be a kid for a minute.
Be a kid.
Yeah.
Buy yourself a balloon.
And your walk in your path was essentially reclaiming your kid.
100%. And I asked that kid what he wanted to do, and he wanted to have adventure. So that might be what you need to do for your inner kid who was experiencing that moment.
Sure.
That's how you can scoop them up. It may be giving them a hug, giving yourself a hug. There's some people who don't even know how to like hold themselves. And in the world of healing, people who haven't received positive touch, it matters to me to have like a trauma-informed therapist when I'm either receiving bodyworks, because I want to offer that to people too. Positive touch. Even if it's like a handshake you can trust. A hug would be better. Dalai Lama encourages like a 6-second hug or I think also the monk Thich Nhat Hanh would encourage a much longer hug from people that are safe, that you trust.
Sure.
That's something you can give to your you, the inner you.
You've chosen touch as your preferred, or it seems to be your preferred method of reaching out. And you know, we've had the benefit of experiencing that. Why touch? Why go that route?
Grandma.
Say more.
So one of the first healers that I've ever encountered who used their hands was Grandma. I remember traveling to my mom's village, and, you know, as kids would do, we would play really hard and break a few things from time to time. But I remember a specific incident where my cousin landed, and visibly the bone was not in a good shape. And, you know, he was crying. We tried to help him. Grandma came around, and, you know, she kind of organized us and told us, go get these herbs or go get that. And then she was warming up some water at a certain point and put these herbs together and like created this herb poultice and did many other things. But this was with her hands, because we knew also the herbs that were planted by her. So she knows her herbs. And I kid you not, within 3 days, this kid was climbing trees again. Even if it was a bone setting, I've never seen anyone heal that fast.
It does seem unusual.
Right? And so I remember once when I was working, I used to be an area manager for a parking company. And I'm walking and inspecting the site, and I'm looking at my hands, and I'm like, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then I remember when I finally entered my first class of massage, for example, and it felt right. Like, oh, I know how to do this. Grandma used to press things. And I went to sleep, and then I woke up from a dream where I remembered my grandmother in my dream. I'd never seen my grandmother come in my dream. But in my dream, she was clapping for me. Like he finally figured out what to do with his hands.
No kidding.
So that for me, like the biggest affirmation, endorsement for that work.
You had your answer. Very good.
I had hung up my suit and I thought, man, I'm losing all these benefits. But what I gained was a relationship with my grandmother through my hands. What I gained was a way to be able to also offer support to my family. My mom used to work really, really hard. So I knew supporting, even just kind of like grabbing my mom's hand after she's worked, even in the garden, to just press the little pressure points and release tension.
Sure.
Or when her arthritis developed, how to support her movement. Touch was the most immediate way that I could experience a relationship with my grandmother, a relationship with healing, but also a way to like give something of me that I knew was good.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed good.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a purity in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Very good. But okay, so let's go back real quick. So tell me, because we left your story 90 miles, 20 roadblocks, all of which deadly. The path you walked backwards, your healing path, was that same path where the roadblocks were?
It was on that 90 stretch. Those. I did have a chance to walk Kigali.
Okay.
But I didn't do it with that in mind. I walked Kigali just to see what had happened after 30 years. So, well, technically 29 years since I left Kigali.
So just revisiting, essentially.
The road.
Okay.
So that was fascinating. Also just kind of realizing my house is gone. The house that we left in 1994 is no longer doesn't exist.
Okay.
We used to live in these houses they call uduseke.
Okay.
They're literally shaped like these little Rwandan baskets.
All right.
That's how we remember them as.
Okay.
They don't exist anymore. So I got to walk that area, but it was more so kind of like, I guess it was a return to it too.
Okay.
But it wasn't as intentional as like walking that 10 miles of the 90.
Okay.
It was intentional in the sense of like, what happened to that place?
Got it.
And
Makes
you
sense.
go and you're like, man, that place is gone. I don't know if you ever experienced going back to a place and realizing none of the stuff I remember is there.
I have. It's nothing familiar.
Yeah.
Any longer. Yes. All the magic's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except for the single guava tree. I love guava a lot. And that was nice to see all the guava trees still there.
Sure.
I used to climb those.
Okay.
Was delicious. But
That's
anyways, remind me what you were saying.
So no, it was, I was just the 90 miles. So this 10-mile walk backwards essentially was your healing, was that part of that 90-mile walk where you saw some of the atrocity. The atrocious stuff. Now, when you started that journey, you had just gotten off the radio, hearing the national radio, hearing that your mother had been taken and was essentially going to be killed. What happened to your mom?
My mom had a completely different story arc than we did. In the South, obviously, she knew she had been hunted for quite some time by the extremist party, the Interahamwe. And my mom hid. First in her home, then in her office, then she managed to get to the UN headquarters. I believe there was a headquarters in the community where we lived.
Yep.
And they turned her away because she was just a high-profile target.
Too hot,
way
essentially.
too hot.
Yeah.
And so then she moved to a diocese, Catholic diocese. And once again, the same thing happened. And I think she either managed to get back to her office. I'm fuzzy about these details because it's been a while since I've heard my mom's story. But essentially, she ends up in a stadium. So there's this infamous stadium in a region in Cyangugu, the South region, that a lot of horrific things happened there. But before any of that, there was this army convoy that came to round up people, and they would have a list. It was essentially a death list. Mom was on top of that list. And so, they came pretending to be interested in like protecting the people that were on that list. There are people among you who, it would be safer if they came with us, basically. And so Mom went with her captors, along with, I think, 20 some odd, 25, 26 of colleagues that she knew.
And they were all duped under the guise of safety?
Mom already knew.
Oh, she knew. Okay.
Yeah, already knew.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things I know consistently. My mom was always thinking about the people that were in that region. And I think she knew how dangerous it was for her to be with them. And after being turned away in so many different places, and for one reason or another, it wasn't hard for her to piece two and two together, especially with the extremists and outside of the stadium taunting and trying to, get people out.
So your mother chose to give herself up as opposed to risk the lives of those protecting her, essentially.
100%.
Brave.
So she went. And so from what I hear, she went, was put in this camp, and, her own personal hell was created. And after, I think, some 25 days, she was asked to go back to the stadium and tell other people that were in the stadium to come out, because at this point, they hadn't just done it once. So when my mom was taken, they went back and took more people, and then et cetera, et cetera. And eventually the people in the stadium got wise, like, these people aren't coming back. and we're not. And some of them would escape and send word, I guess, by whatever means, or maybe something was leaking. I don't know how, but essentially the stadium knew not to let people out.
Okay.
And they tried to band together. And so whoever was in charge of the base that my mom was at, basically was like, we need you to go tell the people that it's okay to come with us.
Okay.
And mom was like, sure, why don't you, fix me up? Obviously, I'm not looking good enough for people to like believe me. And so he attempted to, and when he finally came back to see if she was ready, she was like, well, if I'm good enough to go back, I'm good enough for a bullet now. So she was preparing herself for death. And so in fury, he threw her in a military convoy and commanded the soldiers to basically take her to a death camp. And that she wasn't allowed to be shot. And that, a worse fate was waiting for her. So they started to drive and they came really close to the Congo border. But what my mom saw was water. And she thought, if I can jump out of this convoy and run, at the very least, if I drown, it'll be a faster death than what's waiting for me.
Sure.
What she tells us is they had a number of different orders, like you would at a butcher shop. For her.
They had plans.
Yes.
Why? Just because of her high profile?
High profile.
Or her refusal to go along with the orders?
Among many other things, that, and just, I think that's the extent to which how sick that experience was in those camps.
Wow.
So she was not interested in that. So she jumped a moving convoy and tried to basically jump in Lake Kivu and take her chances with the water.
Yeah.
Mom is not a strong swimmer. It would have definitely not have been, that would have been the end. But she said that she realized that they weren't firing in the air. They weren't firing at her, they were firing in the air. And they had sent guys after her. And so she was like, well, I can try to outrun them. And she knew that area pretty well, and she knew how far the bridge to Port Authority Congo was. It was a year at that time. And so she booked it to the bridge, jumped the Rwandan fence, managed to get to the gate. But because she had done a lot of agriculture work with the Congolese government, the guys at Port Authority recognized her. So they let her in. And so she created a minor international event between Rwanda and Congo at that time, because these soldiers are coming after her.
And now they're accepting a wanted fugitive, essentially, or a prisoner.
Precisely. And the Congolese guys would never give her up. And again, our family would come and go there. So we had literally come from Congo on April 5th.
Wow.
So I imagine she would have seen some of the same guys there. I don't know that story other than what she's told me. And essentially she managed to escape literally the clutch.
Brave woman.
100%. She's my greatest hero.
Wow.
Say anything you want about Marvel movies. They're all a bunch of great heroes. But my mom is literally the greatest hero I've ever seen. She's incredibly brave.
How's mom today?
Mom is good. She's been incapacitated with arthritis. And I'm always trying to figure out ways to support her. Trying to eventually have her move in with me, but I don't have a lot of resources and means to do that yet.
Sure.
But mom can tell you a story and cheer you up. Her spirits alone, and her mischief. My mom is mischievous sometimes.
Okay.
She's the kind of woman who wouldn't let a homeowners association tell her what she can and can't plant in front of a house.
So still a bit ornery, still tough?
She's tough. So I think one of my favorite experience was in Baltimore. She was living with my brother, and the association of the row houses that basically where she lived had these ordinances. You're only allowed to plant flowering plants.
Okay.
in front of the house for aesthetic purposes. And so she decided, I can respect that. And so she planted all kinds of strawberries and tomatoes. And so then the association was livid. She tore up the yard. And they come and they said, didn't you read the ordinance? You're supposed to only plant flowering plants. And she showed them, well, I believe these all have flowering opportunities. So she showed them flowering stages of every single plant that she had planted there.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I bet they love her.
Oh, very much. My brother has since moved from that place.
Imagine that. Yeah.
So,
a lot of conflict.
But it never went away. And when she tells us about her experience of war, there's a lot that is so sad. I mean, to see and watch 20 of your colleagues murdered in front of you. That's, yeah. Someone made their own special brand of hell for her. So I don't have a concept of that. I have a concept of that death and how horrific it must have been.
Sure.
But Mom, she's had a lot of traumas that she keeps. And that's the other part, that she's a Rwandan woman through and through. Just the amount of grit and what they can bear. It makes me look weak, for sure, by thousands of leagues. So I'm honored to be her son.
Your journey has been one of healing and willful and intentional seeking out health and wellness. What has your mother's path been to healing?
Mom, I think it's always going to be in the earth. And I remember the first thing that she wanted to do when we finally had a place to be able to settle was to garden. But because in the beginning we were at the Embassy of Rwanda before unfortunate events led us out of that, she couldn't. And so then eventually we found a place in Fort Washington, Maryland. And I think she cultivated at least a half an acre worth of the land that we were on. And she came alive again. I can't tell you, like, it was night and day. The woman who left us on April 5th and the one who found us, she found us in 1994, late 94. She's the one who found us again in hiding. We heard her voice on a radio when we thought she was dead. Literally, it felt like Lazarus rising. And so, but who we saw...
Oh, she was dead in your mind?
100%.
Oh, so you hadn't gotten word that...
No.
Oh, wow.
No. From April 7th, or whenever the radio announcement happened, to 6 months later, I believe.
You had lost your mother?
Yeah. That was our lived reality, was your mom isn't coming back.
And then she walked in the door.
She spoke on a radio, number one.
Oh.
That in itself was like no minor miracle. So at a certain point, then the war in 94 got so intense. And eventually foreign powers got involved.
Yeah.
Because I think Rwanda was creating a destabilizing impact on Congo as well. And so they intervened.
Sure.
And one of the things they wanted is to have these folks who had capacity with the public to be able to be on the radio to basically to coordinate movements.
Sure.
So I think it's the UN that got her on the radio to try and have the public move into places that weren't in intense fighting.
Ah.
And so at the end of that radio announcement, when she was speaking to the public, she took the time to also speak to us. And I remember when
she talked to you over the national radio.
And I remember my dad coming to get us, and basically, because it was a repeating broadcast, and he said, he had something to share with us. So we were huddled in this little kind of, it was a back house of where we were hiding, that basically like turned this radio on. He loved his radio, and he said, to wait, and eventually Mom's voice came on. And we were like looking at each other, all of us kids, like, this is some sort of trick, some sort of miracle.
Yeah.
We're hearing Mom. And like, I know what Lazarus Rising looks like because my mom did that.
She came back to life.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
I don't know how to tell you what that experience is like.
Try.
I can't. I can't. How do you experience someone coming back to life? Someone you love, someone who means everything to you. So yeah, that experience was a miracle for me.
When's the first time you saw her?
I saw her a few weeks after the broadcast, actually. And by means I'm not going to get into, she managed to find a way to get us to where she was.
Okay.
And she had changed. But she was Mom.
But a different mom.
Yeah. She was definitely traumatized.
Sure.
I remember when we finally made it back to the capital city and life kind of started to return again before going abroad. She couldn't go to a meat market because the chopping of the butcher's block was too intense. And
Jesus, just that statement alone.
yeah.
The implications of that is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, carry on.
No,
Man.
I'm with that because when you talk about healing journey, it makes everything I've done look like it was easy.
That's that comparing trauma thing we talked about.
Right. But my mom, she's done so much work to even be with people.
Sure.
The way she was when she left that place to who she is now is, that's so different.
Sure.
That is so different. So the earth, she cultivated her way into where she is now.
Okay.
So planting, she was known as Grandma in Baltimore by like all the kids in my brother's little community because
okay.
she taught them where strawberries came from, where tomatoes grew. They didn't know that it wasn't prepackaged in the grocery store.
Oh no. Gather around, kids.
Yes.
You're going to get an education.
100%.
That's cute. That's very cute.
Everywhere we had managed to dwell long enough, Mom will always have plants or cultivate something edible.
Sure.
If she can. I remember one of the cross-country road trips I took to the U.S., and I told her I was in South Dakota, Buffalo Gap, I believe, and that I was seeing buffalo.
Okay.
They were coming to one of my tents every morning. She's like, grab the dung. I'd like to see what I can cultivate. Fertilizer with buffalo dung. My mom would ask me for buffalo dung.
Mom, I'm not going to do that.
Number one, I'm going to be in this car for about a month. And so I'm going to be lugging buffalo manure for a month in the car with, someone who I just, made a profound relationship with. This is like a honeymoon trip.
Sure.
And I'm lugging around buffalo manure.
Sure.
I still got buffalo manure to my mom.
Oh, you did get it.
Oh, I had no choice. I had no choice.
I think she's earned that.
Yes.
But that's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that I've taken the bull for my mom.
Sure. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So so you moved, so you got to the U.S.
Yes.
Huge culture shock, I imagine.
Oh my God.
Tell me about that.
Yes.
This is good,
Yes.
bad, just crazy.
Well, first of all, your concept of candy in the US at that time didn't register. So Twizzlers, one of my first experience, because a kid's experiences of those things, right?
Yeah.
So Twizzler candy, I hated the taste of Twizzler candy.
Okay.
I had never understood it until much later. Because I had just come from a land where we ate sugarcane raw directly from the sugarcane plant with sticky fingers, like cut up lips. And that's not the experience with Twizzlers. I hated licorice. So the first experiences of a kid experiencing kid stuff.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo. I watched Scooby-Doo in the beginning. And
You had a television for the first time.
yeah, on a consistent basis that my dad wasn't turning off.
Yes.
Because we eventually got a TV in Rwanda, but it was always under lock and key.
So it wasn't part of your daily lives.
no.
Got it.
Absolutely
That
not.
was Dad's window into whatever he wanted.
He will roll it out
Got
and
it.
ceremoniously open it, and then we'll plug in whatever movie he had pre-screened for us to watch.
Got it.
Interestingly
He didn't
enough,
bring home Scooby-Doo for you to watch?
no. I remember French movies made it to Rwanda, so I watched some French cartoons.
Okay.
Obelix and Asterix. This is
That's the Vikings, aren't they?
yeah,
Yes.
Gaul France.
Yes.
Yes. And I found out later the Asterix is actually based upon an actual Germanic clan chief.
Really?
Vercingetorix.
Is he the big guy?
No, the little guy.
He's the little guy. Okay.
Yes. But I love the big guy.
They're hilarious.
Oh my God.
That's
That's one of
funny.
my favorite things. So anyways, Dad eventually got a TV and guarded it.
Okay.
In the US, all the TV you could watch. Sure. If you were at home.
Sure.
I remember my first experience on the metro and the moving platforms. I still hadn't gotten the hang of getting down the escalators, and when they end, it just looks like it's about to swallow you whole.
Sure.
Or it's just gonna pull you in like a meat grinder.
So you're 10 now,
Yeah.
9 or 10?
10.
You're 10 now, experiencing things
Yeah.
that for the first time that you would have it raised here. You would experience it too.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's
Yeah.
very cool.
It made no sense. And then it made no sense, this metal snake that would come from underground.
So in some ways,
Yes.
you've gone to space. In some ways,
100%.
All this stuff is just brand new to you.
I know it's in Africa somewhere in the 90s and 80s. I'm sure like South Africa had trains
Right.
and they were.
But you didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I grew up in trees and trying to avoid shoes.
Sure.
And, you know, and I remember even when my dad took me to like a processing plant, I got so frightened of this metal clinking. They knew not to take me to anything metallic.
Got it.
If it's not earth or wood or hard concrete,
I'm out.
I'm out. So trains, metros, staircases, escalators, a plane ride, TWA flight, way back when, before TWA had a lot of misfortune.
Yes.
That's the flight, the airline that brought us to the U.S.
First flight.
First transatlantic flight.
Okay.
Apparently, while I was in my mom's stomach, I was taken on a plane ride.
I'm not sure that counts as traveling, but okay, fair enough. Very good. So overwhelming? Do you recall? Was it? That's a lot to take in early on.
It definitely was, but it was also kind of like wide eye. It's so different. It's not war.
Okay.
It's so many different kind of people.
Did you feel at peace? And a better way to say that. Did you feel safe?
Yeah.
More than you had previously? I mean, obviously more than you had
Yes.
previously, but did you feel the sense of safety that we get to experience in the Western Hemisphere for the most part?
Probably even better, because in the beginning we came as diplomats or a family that belonged to a diplomat.
Okay.
So we're protected.
You're extra protected there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
And then when all that goes away, we were left out and dry, and then got to experience what it's like to not have a ground beneath you again.
Yeah.
Right. So the experience between 1996 to 2001, what a wild ride. We ended up in Prince George's County, where my brother got carjacked, I think 2 times. 3 times. The third time they attempted on a red light, it didn't happen. And I remember there were streets that we weren't allowed to walk because it literally felt like a war zone. So when we left the embassy, we were out in the wilderness again.
And that wilderness known as Maryland, which is wonderful.
Yeah. But I love, there are so many beautiful parts of Maryland.
There are.
So I don't want to,
but there are also not very beautiful
especially
parts of
1990 Maryland, late 1990 Maryland. There was gang violence. And I remember the high school that my siblings eventually went to that I didn't go to. At graduation, they flipped a car and set it on fire. We were like, oh, I guess we're back in war zone.
Little rowdy.
Yes. My experience of high school freshman, I think I pissed off the wrong kids because I came back and my shoes were slashed. And so.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was rough.
Wow.
It was rough.
Coming from your background, I bet that was a bit disappointing. Like, we're back to this? We're slashing people now?
And it was more like, oh, okay, like don't get comfortable.
Yeah.
Don't get comfortable.
What a letdown having experienced the safety, the relative safety of the embassy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then by 2000, my mom is exhausted because she had lost the work in the embassy and we became homeless. And so experiencing public service and having to go to a food bank and what it's like, brief period in living out of your car. And so that experience itself, it's an intense experience.
Yeah.
Because you come to the U.S. and all you hear was the land of milk and honey, to use a Bible reference. The streets are paved with gold and diamonds grow, and you can just pick it up from the street. And to come and suddenly that safety net disappears, it was political reasons. Again, I won't get into that part, but it was just shocker.
Sure.
And then
disappointing?
Completely. But it's life, right? And we had mastered surviving the war.
Sure.
And so this particular part of the climb, we've prepared for it. Base camp was Rwanda. So now we are knee deep on Mount Everest.
You are hardened, battle hardened, and yeah.
And so it was difficult to navigate the social support network. So when is my mom allowed to go to the food bank, or is my dad a part of this family? Questions you are asked to be able to qualify for certain benefits. It didn't register until much later. Just, it's a shocking experience when you come here and you don't have, say, like, a Lutheran family service or Catholic charities backing you up as a refugee. So we were asylees. And so navigating even those terms, like what does it mean to be asylum? And what does it mean to be a refugee?
Sure.
What does it mean to be a green card holder or a citizen?
What am I eligible for? What benefits do I have and don't I have?
Precisely.
Yeah. What's legal? What isn't?
Yeah. And so, and there's certain things that you're like, I need to be good. I need to be good because I don't want to also lose this.
Yeah.
Even though it's not much.
Yeah.
So I remember my mom working herself to the bone in a nursing facility, lifting 500-pound people, or at least that's what it felt like, And, I had a lot of compassion for the kind of work, 12-hour work shifts my mom had to put in just to be able to make ends meet. Even then, we still lost the house, so that was tough. And then, but there were interspliced, I guess, if that's a right word, in between all these negative experiences, there's these sweet moments in the people that I've met. There was a woman in my middle school, Dr. Hundemer, who taught me about mediation. There was a guidance counselor, Miss Abdul Rafi. Even before we got to Prince George's County, I think I briefly went to school in DC. Mrs. Hicks and Mrs. Massauk, these people like took interest in me because I wasn't talking much, and English wasn't coming out right. So before I got to this accent, there were people that helped me work on it, so that I can actually, enunciate.
These are teachers that took interest in you beyond what the standard.
100%.
That's awesome. Took you under their wing.
100%.
That's magical.
Yeah.
What a gift.
And that saved me. I mean, it created a different experience and a different reality.
Sure.
And gave me words to name some of the things that were happening.
Sure.
But mediation is where it began, and peacemaking.
Sure.
With Dr. Hundemer.
Okay.
And Miss Abdul Rafi, a guidance counselor. So I remember Miss Abdul Rafi, the guidance counselor, came in on a unit on prejudice and like how to, not be prejudicial. And it was like a Sesame Street kind of level of like, don't tease people because they look different from you or something like that.
Okay.
And so then later, Dr. Hundemer taught me mediation. It was a program that, it was kind of a pilot program that was put in a middle school to teach kids peer mediation. So I was one of the peer mediator that would sit with these kids who are just having, beef, conflict, and sit them down to see if we can come to some sort of agreement. Because usually those beefs and arguments would end up going back home. And then the elder siblings who may be involved in gangs would duke it out in a much more violent way. So it was also a way to also stop a lot of violence. And then fast forward, I ended up at Montgomery Blair High School, and I found this incredible teacher that just, my gosh, there are so many incredible teachers. Mrs. Malone and her Peace Studies class, that was the first time I learned to meditate. The first meditation was meditation by the monk Thich Nhat Hanh, and his book Touching Peace has had a profound impact on me. And just learning to regulate my system before those words were being taught or used. That's what I was doing with literally this practice of sitting, breathing. Breathing in, I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I'm breathing out. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I'm solid. A simple meditation. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I blossom. They were so simple, but they're so profound. Because now, like, if I do that meditation, I'm not just seeing a flower. I'm also seeing a flower that looks like a lotus, and it's stretching roots, and through the muck, it's emerging this blossom.
Sure.
So those were early interruption of the trauma mind.
Sure. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got, so you recently moved.
Yes.
Right? Tell me about this. From where to where?
From the East Coast to the West Coast. To your backyard. I'm thoroughly enjoying having the Pacific Coast. I actually moved because of the ocean. So I moved to California for the Pacific Ocean. Primarily. It's tough. It's expensive. Everything you've heard is true. But there was a memory that was lingering over from Rwanda, from my trips around Lake Kivu and the eucalyptus forest.
The lake that was like an ocean to you.
Exactly. And then the first time when I took the road trip where I was lugging buffalo manure for my mom, I landed in San Francisco and I smelled a eucalyptus tree. And I'm like, it's a familiar smell. Rwanda has tons of eucalyptus forests. Tons.
It's amazing how the olfactory can draw memories.
100%.
Interesting.
That, and it's not freezing cold where I am.
Sure.
So It's nice to be in
that
sunshine.
is nice. Yeah, that's what you pay for out there. Yeah,
precisely.
Got it. So any notable difference in the people?
Yeah,
in the cultures?
Slow down.
How so?
So I've been on metros in Washington, D.C., in New York, where people are not going to look at you. Public transit, where they're not going to look at you. Everybody mind their business. Everybody got something to do. You're not special.
Right.
I've said hello to people in the streets and got expletives on the East Coast. Not to say that I'm probably not going to get, who knows what kind of experience, but what I've experienced of California natives or the folks that I've encountered, they're pretty chill. I don't know if it's the ocean, but it's so calm where I live. People they will slow down and say hello.
Got it.
And that was so weird. The first time I said hello to someone and they like actually addressed me, and I'm like, oh,
they answered back.
Yes.
Now what?
That was fascinating. I mean, I'm not trying to talk bad about folks on the East Coast.
No.
But it's just, was
very different places.
Yeah. My kind of pace.
Yeah. That's for some. I've spoken to some that have the opposite experience.
Yeah.
They go to California, can't stand it.
Yeah.
They need the hustle and bustle. They like the energy. They like the efficiency. They like the, they don't like the slop, I guess, the hang out and chill attitude. I don't get it, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
So California, staying there for a while. What are we doing now?
It's my hope. So
very good.
I'm trying to launch my practice.
Yes.
Bodywork and massage.
Let's talk about that. What
sure.
are we doing now?
Same. So bodywork, I've trained in over 12 different modalities.
Yeah.
I've taught school out here in the East Coast. So I used to be an East Coaster too.
Yep.
But one of the things that I just want to be able to offer is how to hold the body in a very mindful way. Could be that through massage or just your intentional practice. If it's meditation, it's meditation. There's a way to make peace with your own body and your own being.
Yep.
So really, when I do body work and healing, I'm looking at it beyond just the body, but also your psyche, and how that you could do that through touch. You could do that through meditation and breath work.
Sure.
And so that's one of the things that I'm hoping to be able to share with people in my new state.
Sounds like a more holistic approach to
100%.
Wellness as opposed to just massage. This
100%.
is a total kind of a larger, wider swath. I don't know how to quite put that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to cut that out. But yeah, this is a wider approach to kind of an all-encompassing. Hey, there's a lot more to you than just the touch side of it.
Precisely.
Is this? Tell me about the practice itself. How do people get a hold of you if someone's watching this and wants to get with you? How do they do that?
So my website is bantuethos.com.
You're gonna have to spell that.
So Bantu, BANTU.
Okay.
Ethos, ETHOS.com.
Okay.
Might change, but that's what it is right now.
All right.
But essentially for me, you just call. Send me a message. I'm the one who's answering the message right now. So
okay.
I haven't expanded the practice.
Very good.
Still trying to also get a feel of what people need there. Mm-hmm. So there's one thing to kind of show up and say, here, I'm going to give you all this, but is what you're offering what's needed there? I know that there's a lot of surfers and athletes where I live, and that's, it's good to work on them. But I also like to work on, I want to be able to offer massage eventually for folks who can't afford it and see if the community can support that.
Sort of a pro bono type thing? Interesting. Yeah. So you want to create almost a community-sponsored wellness program for the underprivileged.
Correct.
Interesting.
Even a pay it forward. So
because everyone needs touch.
Exactly. Just good, wholesome, positive touch. But I'm also a facilitator, and by training, Guilford College and the Conflict Resolution Resource Center taught me mediation and facilitation. Those are things that I'm getting into even more. So like right now, I also work with the National Student Leadership Conference, and summertime I go to different universities and I offer that work.
Okay.
But that's also something I want to be able to find a way to merge within the practice of what I'm building.
Sure.
It's slow, completely slow.
Okay. Is there you still do universities and talks? If someone were to want to have you out, how would they get a hold of you? Same way?
Same. Well, so for that one, you can just go to vitalakimana.com.
Okay. We'll put links up on the site.
But again, you will find me. There is no apparatus beyond me right now. So I welcome anyone who wants to invite me to their schools.
Sure.
I love working with youth, specifically that age group that is 16 to 20 some year olds that are trying to figure out language for peacemaking within clubs and activities and, whatever it is that they're getting into. I love that age. There's so much that I got accomplished when I was at that age.
Mm-hmm.
I was student body president, Guilford College.
Okay.
I have a concept of what you're experiencing when you first leave home and the reins have been removed and you can just kind of explore.
Go wild.
Yeah. I never did that. It was a Quaker campus.
Okay.
So that's my story. I'll stick to it.
Mm-hmm. Should we call them and find out?
Go for it.
Do a little background?
Go for it. I don't know who's still there.
Sure.
But I find that is such when we talk about the friction of possibilities, that is such an age where you want to learn what peacemaking is within yourself and with others. Because if you can get that at that level, you will get it the rest of your life,
Those formative years,
Yes.
when you're really creating that core.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's a nice little, juicy root to plant.
Sure.
Or seed to plant there. So when I'm with the students and I'm working on personality,
Sure.
team building, understanding dynamics, conflict styles, these are things that matter to me. I know that it's so different from the world of massage, but for me, they make sense because it's all about holding space.
Sure.
So you can hold space with your hands, doing body work and helping to repair human beings, athletes, soldiers, I've done that. But you can also hold space for a mind, a mind in dysregulation if they're experiencing trauma, or a mind in conflict, or two individuals experiencing conflict. Those are two minds that you have the capacity to hold space for.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately what I'm doing is holding space.
Okay.
And then my third branch is storytelling. So for me, there's ways to be able to share our humanity, even the way we're doing it now. This is storytelling.
Yes.
So ways you can share your humanity with other people, your experiences, and ways to remember ancient lessons that allowed humanity to thrive in the first place. So Bantu ancestors and their stories matter. West African ancestors, South African ancestors. Africa, for me, is important. It has a lot of stories. And then uniting those stories with all the different groups of people I've met. Native Americans from the Midwest, Crow, Lakota, Navajo, Dene. So many stories.
Sure.
So there's a collective I'm working with called Voices from the Earth. You can find that. It's, Eileen Evans is an incredible mentor.
From Voices of the Earth.
From Voices of the Earth. I think if anybody ever wanted to support something wholesome, worthwhile, that is not lost in politics or lost in whatever, that's it for me. So she's collected stories from all over, from West Virginia to the deep South.
And how do we experience those? How do we get a hold of those?
Just go to the website.
Go to the website.
Go to the website, and or you put in Eileen Evans and just support Eileen.
Sure.
She's incredible. She will dress up in this Chautauqua style acting. She will embody these figures whose stories people have forgotten.
I'd love to have a conversation with her.
God.
That sounds great.
I mean, I don't know what you're doing with me. But that's the person you should be talking to.
We'll give her a call, see if she'll come on.
So she put me I'm a volunteer for Voices from the Earth.
Okay.
So you'll see my face working the farm. On her website.
We'll put a link up and we'll see if we can get you some traffic that way. Very good. Very good, man. Well, the Western culture, America specifically, being allergic to any kind of new processes or medical, doing anything, everything gets, you look at anything Eastern that gets referenced like that and dismissed just as easily. I really hope you're able to penetrate some of that and get your message out, because I think the benefits of even getting a touch of your perspective would be huge for humanity. So I appreciate you. You've been very influential on me and my family. Yeah. And it's been really, really great, man. It's been nice knowing you.
I appreciate your friendship and you wanting to even just listen to my stories. If I haven't bugged you enough with them. I
love it. Honestly, it's a blessing. And it's some of these, of course, you and I have shared before, but even hearing them a second time is just as motivating and powerful. It's nice.
Thank you.
It really is. You are a bit of a beacon for some of us. So it's been very cool, man.
And I want to remind you, everybody have their own stories. Like you have a way in which you've navigated your own healing that matters to the world. You can create an insight for someone who won't be able to relate to me.
Sure.
And even this, like, I don't know how to do this. Sure. And this is your way. So like, there's so many things that I want to share with people that you matter. Like your story matters.
Sure.
We want that on the plate too. Right?
Everybody has a story.
Exactly.
Yes.
Everyone.
I like that. Because that's been one of our mottos here is everyone has a story. Correct. Right. And this is yours, but I like that you added an element to that I'll steal from you if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is your story. Everyone has a story, and your story matters.
Yes.
And that's what a message that could be as well.
Of course.
But what an empowering and enabling. Your story matters. It's unique. There's no one on this planet that has the same story you do, and we all want to hear it.
Exactly.
Interesting. Very good.
And that's fundamentals of peacemaking. If we can all just slow down long enough to just hear each other's stories.
Yeah.
There's magic to be created.
Very good. Can we do a couple promos? I'll barrage you with questions. Some of them you may not have answers to, and some of them are going to be like, fuck.
Oh, wow.
But no, none of them. These are meant to be, again, they're poppy, right? So they're edited quick, and your answers, so the answers can be short, and they can be, and be as outlandish as you want. It's fine.
No problem.
But this, 3 books that you recommend to anyone listening that helped you through your journey.
Touching Peace.
Touching Peace.
That is incredible. That is Thich Nhat Hanh. Zora Neale Hurston. Okay. Their Eyes Were Touching God. Love that. Why did you just limit it to 3? There's like 1,000 popping in my head now.
I know. It's fine. Tell you what I'll do. I'm going to re-record myself, and then I'll switch to give me 2 books that you'd recommend everyone else. Sorry, let me say it again. Give me 2 books that you'd recommend anyone listening should go pick up today.
Okay.
And then we'll play your 2. All right. If you were, and again, shut me down if this gets too personal, but if you were to go back, if you could fly back in time, right, and parachute down and have a very brief conversation, a statement or 2 to your 9-year-old self at those worst moments, what would you say?
It gets better.
Say that louder.
It gets better.
It gets better.
This is not it. It's not forever. And I got you. I will always get you.
I like that. Oh, to hear that in those moments. Very good. Let me grab a few more here real quick. Sorry. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Someone's listening who's experienced trauma, right? It's either PTSD, or any one of the traumas, and it's affecting them more and more daily. What do they do? What do they do today? What do they do tomorrow? What are first steps to get started down a wellness journey?
Healing is not a sprint. You're not gonna just get out of the gate and be like, okay, next week I'm healed. Especially that degree of trauma. and that magnitude, it will take time, and you gotta keep putting in the work. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but get support. It's one thing to recognize it and say, I need this healing. It's another to actually go seek out. You may fail. You may fail at finding the right therapist or the right therapy the first, second, third time. My first therapist wasn't the therapist that was for me. My first tool in therapy wasn't the tool for me. So stick with it.
How do you know if you're with a good therapist?
They will challenge you on all your buffalo dung.
Well said. Nice reference back. They challenge you.
They will challenge you.
Not your friend. This is somebody who's going to jam you up.
It will feel like friendship eventually because someone got you.
But it's tough love.
But it's tough. It's compassionate love.
Got it.
And it will feel good when it lands.
You've seen that. You've seen Good Will Hunting with Robin Williams.
God.
Okay, so you know the moment
favorite.
that moment where he it's not your fault. It's not your fault, and he backs him up against that wall, and Matt Damon so brilliantly just manages that you can feel the tension almost about to break, and then Did you have a moment like that in any of your sessions? Did you have? And it's never that dramatic, but were there moments where you felt a breakthrough?
My gosh, one of my favorite therapists. It was in college. Again, you may not be able to afford some of these things all the time, but I read my student handbook at Guilford College, and I was able to find that I was allowed 8 sessions. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first experience. And the biggest breakthrough came sitting down by the Guilford Lake with a therapist who had allowed me to not be indoors, because that was triggering the heck out of me. Mm-hmm. And that moment, for sure, that was an incredible breakthrough. Like there was something, it all aligned. Capacity to listen, hold space, me feeling safe, environment, and just I have had those moments, and
wonderful.
They're incredible when they happen, and there are many of them.
That's amazing. Very good. I've had one, and it was game changing for me. Yeah. And as you said earlier, I wish that upon everyone.
Yeah.
Just to have that. Mine was through EMDR therapy, which was
done that.
Very similar. Like I was talking about that Eastern medicine dismissal. Mm-hmm. The second that she started that, I rolled my eyes like, this is ridiculous. That stupid light going back and forth. She told me exactly what was going to happen. I was not ready for it to happen. Yeah. And then we were right in the middle of another eye rolling, like, oh God, here we go. And it happened. And anyone who's been through EMDR, my mind went nuts. About 9 million memories came to mind. Fear was gone. I drove home happier than I've ever been in my life. I called Lindsay and said, I don't know what the hell just happened, but something major changed in me today.
Incredible.
Just magic. Absolutely magic. Yeah. So that's why I ask. It's just to be able to share in that. What a magical gift to a human being. And if I could just transport that to somebody in pain.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people are in pain all the time.
That's your tongue lang meditation.
Yes.
The fact that you wish that. Or a loving kindness meditation.
That's the reaching out you were talking about.
Yeah. If you feel like you've had something great, even the wish for someone else to get it, that's a meditative practice.
Interesting.
And my mom, for example, her meditative practice is the ground. That's another thing that you could do. Like therapy may not be for you, but just get in touch with the ground. Like you have this planet that is breathing for you in the vacuum of space. Producing all you eat.
Yeah.
And it takes all our crap.
Yeah.
The earth in itself is incredible as a healer.
Sure.
If you can dig your feet in when you're feeling dysregulated, it's incredible.
So you don't need therapy, or if you don't need, let me say it better. If therapy is not for you, or if you don't want to do therapy, at least do something therapeutic.
Correct.
Right. And that is a wide array of things you can do, including the earth and
That's right.
and loving and
Yeah.
Very good.
Or forest bathe, going into a forest and walking with no intention of like, oh, I'm on a hike and focusing on my run and my form. Take in the beauty of the earth. This is a planet that's a jewel. I mean, I remember seeing, is it William Shatner, when he was talking about being in outer space and looking back at the blue dot. This is a planet that supports life in a vacuum. I mean, if it can't heal you, really, come on.
It's funny. It seems so obvious, but it's such a tall order to get everyone to slow down enough just to look around. Seems almost impossible, just at the rate we go. But as you said, healing.
Yeah.
Seems like we almost have to experience pain before we seek out
Sometimes.
what is so obvious.
Sometimes.
Interesting. I got two more for you.
Okay.
Is there a common misunderstanding that you find yourself correcting all the time? Is there something that people misunderstand about anything? Africa, wellness, name it, Hiawatha. I mean, whatever. Is there any misunderstanding you find yourself commonly correcting?
Yes. Africa is a continent. Rwanda is a country. Yeah.
Really?
I've had that.
Really?
I've had that.
No.
Africa's a continent. Rwanda's a country. I've had people, I love that country you come from, Africa. And I'm like, I love you. And I don't hate you for this experience because it's exposure, right? There's a way in which people have been exposed to the continent that is problematic at best. And then you start to think, oh, okay, it's just one place, but it is so big.
Sure.
You can literally fit 3 United States in it.
Sure.
Which is why it's been able to supply the world with like resources and minerals literally since the Crusades began.
Yeah, it built the world,
Yes.
basically.
Precisely. So
much to the chagrin of the residents there.
Yes.
I mean, thank you, but
Yes. So that's one. So 1 and 2 technically. What other misconception? Rwanda, Uganda. Very close in spelling and sound.
Yes.
Different countries. Yeah. Related, borders shared, but different.
But different countries.
Yes.
Your description of Africa, of our interpretation of Africa, is so spot on. Are you familiar with the map?
Yes.
Okay. What do you know about the map?
Problematic.
Yeah. Why? I'd like your take on this.
So, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but if I can tell you that there's 3 United States that fit into a place, you'd want to picture it a little bit bigger
than the United States.
The United States. And so when you look and you compare the continent Africa to the size of the United States alone, and how the United States and the 2 are pictured, there is a problem. And I think it's right for people to have a problem with it. Those cartographers should have a big problem with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
What drew my attention to this, because I confess I am one of the ignorant Americans. I did not know about this until shamefully a few years ago. This is not a long time ago. This was bad. It was actually from a West Wing episode that I was rewatching.
Interesting.
Where somebody where the map makers of America, wherever, and it was sort of comical. They came in with a meeting with the White House, and the White House, it was so ridiculous that the staffers were like, ugh, who's going to have to take this one? And phone it in. And they sat there and they listened to the map nerds give them this lecture about we need to change the map. And everyone's like, why the hell are we changing the map? And they said, well, the Mercator projection is blah, 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 blah. And the other one, I forget the other name, but I had no idea. And then they flipped it. And my reaction was the same as the actors, which was, what the hell is that? That's Africa, and it's half the world. What the hell?
It's huge.
You can fit, and then of course you look it up. You see on the memes, people they put Russia and China and U.S. and a few others. It's massive.
With room to spare.
And how many countries do we know in Africa?
54, 53, 54, depending on the day.
Well, Sudan and South Sudan. Yeah.
Yes.
So 54 countries.
Yes.
That we all view as essentially one group of people, or often view as a singular group of people, which is ridiculous.
Take Congo alone. Congo is massive, and that's one country.
Yes.
So even some of these countries need to be, like, you would need to partition them with like several states in them, in order for you to get the enormity.
Because even with them, they're different cultures, different, just like we are.
Precisely.
Yeah, that is so crazy to me. Yep. With the level of ignorance about Africa, especially, is shocking to me. Ignorance about the world in general. The world's a big place, so you sort of get that. But there's this odd cloak over Africa where it just ends up being this dark zone of knowledge where it just sort of doesn't get, genocides don't get covered, which is, to take it a serious route. Recently there was the Sudanese genocide going on. I barely heard about it. Yeah. That is atrocious. You watch the Rwandan genocide that you talked about. Sure, it was getting news coverage, but that was about the extent of it. Yeah. UN's arguing about what's right and what's wrong. People are standing there with machetes. What are we doing here? And
that goes to the greater world. There's 215 plus armed conflict happening at any given moment around the world. Yeah. How many of them do you know? And that's a good question for anybody listening to ask themselves. Of the 215 plus armed conflict, we're talking major all-out warfare, how many do you know about?
2. Right. Yep. And then the same 2 everyone I know knows about.
Correct.
Yep.
And so as a student of peace, it hurts my heart, but it shows me the extent to which we have to do so much work to bring attention to the human struggle. When in Sudan, 25 million people were facing hunger.
25 million people.
25 million. We don't even have a concept of that. How many football fields is that? Right? That, it hurts just to think about how many babies and how many mothers. Yeah. Right? There's a mother carrying her kids, trying to walk 7 hours to get to drinkable water.
Yeah. That's insane to me. We've had this conversation before, just the water, food, basic things that we do take for granted. And I don't, we have to give credit to a system that allows its people to take that for granted so well. And I don't know that it's necessarily required to appreciate it as much as but just to have the knowledge of, hey, this is not reality. This is not normal in most places, and people really suffer for this. Correct. This is what we should all be teaching our kids.
Yes.
This is your job, is to go help with this kind of thing. We should be leading by example on that.
And at the same time that's happening, you also have another common misconception that it's all trees and people, running around half naked.
Like the savannah.
Yeah. Go talk to a Nigerian, go talk to a South African from me. And when you come back from Lagos or Cape Town, we'll have a convo about what you saw.
I just got back from Cape Town. That was one of the most modern cities I've ever been in. That was amazing. Yes. That place was gorgeous and it was immaculate. It was gorgeous. It was modern. We were not without anything. I was really surprised. Yeah. Shamefully, again, it's just ignorance.
And the music scene there, if you love music, my gosh.
I do love music. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The people were wonderful too. God, they were nice. I got 25 million people starving in the Sudan alone, right? Africa's got its
juxtapositions.
And as you said, Africa's it's certainly, it's not tribes and huts anymore. It's by any stretch. This is a modern culture with real problems.
Yeah. Multitude of cultures.
Tons. 54 different nationalities, much less cultures inside of there, and all sorts of tribal stuff, as you said. 25 million people in the Sudan alone. There's no shortage of opportunity. I got 1 million viewers. What can they do to help?
Talk to someone from Sudan. They'll tell you. Okay. If you have a friend, I mean, there's so many different organizations also wanting to support this kind of effort, but just get informed. Just begin there.
Sure.
Right? I'm not even going to ask you for your dollar to be contributed to anything yet. If you can read and study about Sudan and you are not moved, read about somewhere else. There's enough places in this world that could use just even your knowledge and attention that they exist. Right? Remember the story, Horton Hears a Who?
Yeah.
I got to hang out with the Dr. Seuss crew, awesome crew, but just...
What does that mean? What's the Dr. Seuss
Dr.
crew?
Seuss. So Dr. Seuss was a writer, and he...
I know Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Theodore
Folks,
Geisel.
Yeah, the folks who are in charge of his estate. And
oh, they're the ones that manage his assets.
Yes.
Now. Yeah.
So they were running a relaunch of the Lorax or something like that a while back. But anyways, in the story, Horton Hears a Who is just these who's in Whoville trying to scream their lungs out that they exist. We are here. We are here. And there's so many, that touched me. There's so many people hoping that they'd be heard, that we are here, right? I know Rwandans in 1994 that were suffering, hoping they would be heard by their friends in Belgium and friends in the United States. There's so many people in the world right now hoping to be heard and for their existence to be acknowledged and recognized. Just beef up on like one of these countries.
Just knowledge. Just learn or look.
You will be moved. It's impossible not to be moved.
I've been moved recently by it as I've gotten more and more into it, and I've been moved to share the message only because I don't believe that it's out of anything other than ignorance that people don't help. There's a certain level of desperation that exists. There are people that need help in all different states, but there's a certain level of desperation on one side combined with a certain level of comfort on another that cannot coexist in a world without ignorance. And I think if you can bridge that gap, perhaps we will have done some good by bringing
100%
the good. You know, then the question is, you got to weed through the how of it. But as you said, the how is later.
That's right.
Just figure out what to do first.
Yeah. And
what touches you.
Yeah. Because there will be something that touches you.
Sure.
For the artists, there's artists. For the musicians, there's musicians. For the peacekeepers, there are peacekeepers. There's so many different people around the world that are like into the things you're into. Yeah. In ways that would move you.
Sure.
If only they get a little support.
Sure. Then we should do that. Thank you for your time today, man. This has been fun. Anything else before we go? Anything else you want to talk about, or anything you want to put a bumper in for? A book you're going to write? Are you anything you want to talk about there?
I am writing.
Okay, so let me prompt you then.
Okay. I don't have a title yet.
No, it's okay. Right. So let me prompt you. So, okay, next steps. What are you doing now? Is there any material? How do we? All right. How about this? Tell us what you got going now. What are you working on?
Yeah. So, working with Voices from the Earth.
Okay.
Eileen Evans. I had an opportunity to connect Eileen Evans and my mother together. And what came out was this beautiful organic interview between Eileen and my mom that I want to work on to just turn into a book.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my next ventures, is telling my mother's story, telling my story. That matters to me more than anything, if not to just be able to go to mom and, instead of buffalo dung, just offer her own story and tell her that she's not forgotten. Because it's so easy, especially around the holidays, and folks who are in, care facilities like my mom, who may feel like, oh my gosh, I'm lost, I'm forgotten. My mom her story is so important to me. So those are the things that I'm working on and trying to find ways to get that supported in order for it to get going.
And can we get this book?
Eventually,
when
yes.
the time comes?
So keep an eye out on Voices from the Earth, and Marianne and Eileen Evans, and me, of course, I'll be there.
We'll do a follow-up. Yeah, well, we'll get the information. Cool. It's no one on this planet deserves to be remembered more than your mother, it sounds like.
Thank you.
How wonderful. All right. Thank you very much for your time today, man. Appreciate it.